All right, everybody's so quiet I don't need to use my gavel, which, you know, I was all prepared and excited about. So it is 6:05 p.m. on Monday, August 9th. We are meeting in the Nashua North Boardroom for this regular meeting of the Board of Education. We have quite a few people here, so I just want to remind everybody that as challenging as it is, we do need to keep the doorways open so that there is a means of egress in case of fire. I would not be able to live myself if we couldn't get out for that. I'm going to ask the gentleman with the microphone in the back to please put your microphone away. Is it a camera? It's a camera. It's a camera, all right. That's perfectly okay. Thank you. Okay, so I appreciate everyone's willingness to give us a couple extra minutes. I'm just going to go over, since there's a lot of people and I don't know how many new people there are here this evening, some of the rules for decorum at public meetings. First of all, as I said, please don't block the aisles or exits. Please stay on the public side of the horseshoe. Please refrain from outbursts from the audience. This is a business meeting and it's very distracting and disruptive to everyone when the audience boos, hisses, claps, talks to the people making public comments. All of those things can be disruptive, and so we're going to ask you not to do that. We do welcome public comments, and in fact, we've allowed for 2 public comments on tonight's agenda, including an expanded first public comment period. We ask that you sign up to speak. So there is a sign-up sheet there on the podium. When we get to the public comments portion of the agenda, I will ask probably Miss Oden, lucky Miss Oden, to grab it for me and bring it down, and I'm just going to read the names one by one. We ask that during public comments period that you wait your turn, allow each person to finish their comment, and when you have your chance, you can make your comment. It's perfectly acceptable to just say, I agree with the previous speaker. You don't have to repeat things, but you can if you want to. The one thing that I do ask is that people please don't use their public comment time to call out individuals who are private citizens or employees of the district. There's a method, if you have a problem with an employee, to send that information up to administration, and it just isn't really very nice to call out other individuals in the public. And the last thing I would ask is that while allowing other people to speak during their public comments, when they're finished, please allow them to leave. We've had some situations where people were impeded leaving after their public comments, and that's just really not appropriate. And lastly, if you do disrupt my meeting, I will ask you to leave. If you continue to disrupt the meeting after I've asked you to leave, you can be escorted out of the meeting. And I hate to do that. Everybody's here because we care about the kids in our district. I trust that everybody in the audience is here because we care about the kids in the district, and I want everybody to be able to have their say in a way that is respectful of everybody. So, having said that, let us take the roll call. If there are any members on the phone, please remember to state where you are, why you aren't physically present at the meeting this evening, and if there are any people with you. Ms. Bishop.
Ms. Bishop, sorry. Ms. Bishop is here. Ms. Giglio?
Here.
Ms. Raymond?
Here.
Ms. Oden? Here. Ms. Brown?
I am here. I am calling in remotely. I am out of the state right now and coming back from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And I can hear you. I've got earbuds in, but I am also in the room alone.
Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Guarino?
Here.
Ms. Seaman's not here. Ms. Timmons?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Also present this evening, we have Mr. Dunn and Ms. Brunel, our representatives from North and South respectively. Or did I get it backwards? No, that's right. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys had a great summer vacation. It's not over. You still have a few more weeks.
A few more weeks.
All right. We have our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary, Dr. Sarfty. We have our Assistant Superintendent for Secondary, Mr. Parker. We have our Superintendent, Dr. McKinney. We have our I think, CFO, Mr. Donovan, and in the circle this evening, we have the Director of Public Health, Bobby Bagley. So welcome to everybody. At this time, I will ask that Ms. Bishop lead us in the prayer, and then I think, because I've gotten all messed up on my order, I will ask Ms. Giglio to lead us in the pledge.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. Amen.
Now, if we can all please rise, well, those of us who are able to do so.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So this evening, we invited Ms. Bagley here to give us an update on the current conditions. I would ask that my fellow board members agree to suspend the rules and allow us to take her from the agenda for reopening and let her speak now, as she has another commitment she needs to get to this evening. And I think since we started a few minutes late, she has to leave by 6:30, I heard. Is that correct, Ms. Bagley?
Yes, Ms. Raymond, that is correct. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, all right, thank you. Ms. Timmons, does anyone have an objection? No? Okay. I don't see any objections, so let's just do that.
We have Jess.
Okay. I'm sorry. Ms. Brown, do you object to letting, I'm sorry, Ms. Bagley go first?
I do not object.
Okay, thank you. I do ask that my fellow board members refrain from making any motions at this time. We do have a lot of people here for public comments, and I think we should be respectful of everybody's time by allowing Ms. Bagley to finish what she has to tell us, ask questions if you have them, and then sit on any motions until we get to the rest of the information about reopening. Does anyone have any problems with that? No?
Ms. Raymond, I think it's appropriate to do a roll call, just so we won't run into any opposition later on.
Sure.
Just to do a roll call. Thank you.
All right.
Who seconded it?
There is no second, just
I did a
ask.
second.
Do you have an objection, Ms. Oden, to waiting on motions until we get to the appropriate time in the agenda?
No, I was seconding your motion.
Oh, can we just go by objections?
Well, I moved.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Timmons, seconded by Ms. Oden. Sorry, I got it. Ms. Bishop, when you have a chance.
Ms. Bishop.
I'm not writing it down.
Point of privilege. Can you guys remember to speak in your microphones? On the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was writing the motion down. On the motion to wait on motions, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Giglio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bagley, thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond, and thank you, Board, for allowing me to come to just to give a situational update of where we are right now with our COVID epidemic. I'll start out with some numbers that are global and then the U.S., as well as share where we are in New Hampshire and then what we're seeing right here in Nashua. So globally right now, there's over 202,849,000 cases that have been confirmed, with 4,297,500 global deaths. As far as the U.S., Currently, we have 35,765,233 confirmed cases, with our deaths right now in the U.S. are at 616,829. In New Hampshire, and the data has just been updated this afternoon for New Hampshire, so I was just taking a quick look at the state site to see what those numbers look like in comparison to what I had this morning. And right now in New Hampshire, we have over 111 total cases with 1,270 active cases. We have 96 cases that were reported today with an average of 168 per day, and that's a 62% increase over the past 7-day period. In Nashua, we have 117.1 per 100,000 cases that have been reported. Our percent positivity rate is at 2.6%, and we had 105 new cases reported as of today, with a total number of 53 active cases. So what we tend to see is the numbers, fluctuate on a daily basis. The state updates their website daily. This information can actually be found at www.covid19.nh.gov for those numbers. Right now in the state, we're looking at a 53.8% fully vaccinated individuals and 58.6% that have at least received one dose. For Nashua, we are at, where are we? Oh, I pulled the numbers out for those between 12 and 19. Let me just see what I have here for Nashua as a whole. Okay. For 12 to 19, I thought this statistic might be a good one to share. Right now, we're seeing 39.1% of 12 to 19-year-olds that are fully vaccinated. So that's about 2,980 youth, and partial vaccination at 45.6%, 3,479. And that represents about 7.1% of all individuals that have been vaccinated in the state of New Hampshire at this particular time. The other information I thought was important to share, case summary infection, so by age, between 0 and 9, we've seen a total of 5,831 youth, which is 5.7% of the total number of cases that have been reported over this time period of this pandemic. And between the ages of 10 and 19, we've had 12,711 in our state, which represents 12.5% of the total cases. Out of that, over this pandemic period, we've had a total of 30 under the age of 19 that have been hospitalized. And I did receive a call or a request for an answer on how many are currently hospitalized right now in Nashua. And I did put that information out to our 2 local hospitals, and 1 hospital did get back to me, so we have no kids in the hospital at this current time. So what we're looking at as far as recommendations, we're following the CDC's recommendations with regards to what things might need to look like for masking, because we are in substantial spread right now in Nashua. In our state right now, we're at moderate. And that number tends to go up and down again depending on the number of cases that are at the critical point of 100 per 100,000. And so for the most part in New Hampshire, across the state, except for in certain places, Nashua, Manchester, and one of our other counties, we're at substantial spread. And some of the recommendations that actually came down from the state with regards to that, because we have an increase in the number of cases that we're seeing as a result of the Delta variant, and this is global information, about 83% of the new cases that we're now seeing are in the Delta variant, have also been in individuals that are unvaccinated. And so we're looking at a pandemic now that's really impacting those that are unvaccinated. The Delta variant is also very highly transmissible. It's just as infectious as the common cold and chickenpox. So our original SARS-CoV-2, for every 1 individual that was infected, there could be a potential spread of up to 3 people. With the Delta variant, they're seeing that at 50% higher, so it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 up to 8 individuals that may become positive as a result of 1 positive case of the Delta variant. The numbers that we had for this week with regards to that, and this was later last week with the Delta variant, we had a presentation that was done by Dr. Chan at the State Health Department. And we saw at that time, we had, of the alpha variant, we had 9% of specimens that had been tested positive that sequenced out for the alpha variant. For the beta, there was 0. For gamma, it was less than 1%, and the delta variant was 45%. So that's the majority of what we're seeing with the cases that are reported in our state right now. And that number may actually be up a little higher because that was last Thursday that was reported out. So with these things that we're seeing with the increase, we are in a period right now for the past month that we have seen a trending of upward reporting of cases, and in particular with that Delta variant that's highly transmissible. The recommendations that have come out have been a few of these bullets that I'll just read off here. The CDC is recommending that individuals who are fully vaccinated to wear masks while they're in public indoor settings. The state's Department of Public Health and Community Health Services is also following that recommendation as well. So individuals that are fully vaccinated should also wear a mask when they're in public indoor settings when there is substantial levels of community transmission. The CDC has also recommended that individuals at lower levels of community transmission can choose to wear a mask as well, again, to prevent the spread of any infection, especially if they're immunocompromised or if they're unvaccinated. And if they have individuals in their household that might be immunocompromised as well. So whether it's low transmission or substantial transmission, we're still looking at how we can stop the spread of this infection. And then the CDC also recommends that if anyone has had a known exposure or suspected to be in contact with a person that has COVID, get tested at least 3 to 5 days after that exposure. The CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommend universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to schools, regardless of their vaccination status. New Hampshire's Department of Public Health has also recommended that schools make the decisions on prevention strategies such as face mask use based on their local contextual factors. So again, you're going to look at the data with regards to implementing prevention strategies. So that's the situational update, that I'm here to provide with those numbers. The numbers are looking like how we looked last year in the early part of this year in May. When you have situations where you have increased travel, increased gathering together in small spaces or large spaces, you have the potential for there to be an increase in the virus. And until, again, we get our vaccine rate up higher, we're going to continue to see these types of trending upward in cases. So that's my update.
Wow, that was a lot of numbers. Thank you very much, Ms. Bagley. Okay, I see that Ms. Johnson has a question. I'd like to go around just one after another, if you don't mind, Ms. Johnson, since Ms. Brown is on the phone and I can't see her. Ms. Oden, did you have any questions?
Not at this point. Not at this point, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giglio?
No, but thank you, Ms. Bagley.
Mr. Guarino?
Yeah, I just have a question about the American Academy of Pediatrics. They recommend masking, and was that for substantial, or when you say you have to look at the data?
So the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to schools, regardless of vaccination status. The state health department is recommending that schools make a decision on prevention strategies based on our local contextual factors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Brown?
My only question is actually about how the statistics are gathered. Is it regionally or city or by county? What's like our pocket of influence?
I believe the question was, how is the data collected by state, region, or local? Is that the question?
Yes, the question is when you're speaking about where the statistics are coming from, is it by statewide information? Is it local, county, or is it just city of Nashua?
So the data that I have here was from our state's website that presents the information out by the state, at the state level. It also presents it out by county, but I didn't present that information out. It does also have it out by the region, and then I presented information on Nashua. So the only data that I did not present out was by like Hillsborough County.
Okay,
But
thank you.
that can be found on the website as well. You're welcome.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Ms. Johnson?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Bagley. We had a wonderful conversation earlier today. And the numbers for Nashua again were?
So right now, for Nashua, we're at 117.1 per 100,000. So this morning, or this afternoon, Ms. Johnson, when we spoke, the data was showing, still showing that what was reported out from Friday, which I think the numbers you have from me earlier are at 101 and 662 total cases. So we can see that that number has gone up since the information that I gave you this morning. So Nashua's at 117.1 per 100,000 with 105 new cases, a total of 53 active cases right now.
Okay, so how are we testing for the Delta variant? How are we testing for that?
So that's a good question. So for all of the tests that go up to the state's lab, they are trying to test 100% of those for all of the variants. And if there is enough of the viral sequencing in the samples when they collect them, they'll run the Delta variant, or they'll test for any variant. And right now, they're testing about 85% of all of the tests that go up to the state for the variants.
But what test are they using? Because I know we use PCR, which has been in question because of the cycles with the FDA and even the CDC. So do we know how they're running the Delta variant so we can get those numbers? Are we still doing it like with the PCR?
They are using it, they're running the PCR.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. And also, I mentioned the other day when I was at the meeting at the Board of Health, and I had to put a mask on, when I couldn't breathe at all. And I told you, the doctor, I couldn't breathe with a mask because I have my health conditions. I mentioned about the masks that we have here, that I have an article from Florida. A group of parents sent their kids' face masks to a lab for analysis, and here's what they found. So if we're talking kids, I'm sure this is the same thing. What kids would have and adults being in a mask for about 8 hours, 6 hours, and they found pneumonia in it, tuberculosis, meningitis, sepsis. This could be found on a website out there too. Are you aware of this? They found Lyme disease, diphtheria, Legionnaire's disease, severe infections, high mobility rate, meningitis, I did that already, food poisoning. So this is what we're breathing in the masks because of the moisture. So I just wanted to put this out there. Are you aware of this? I mentioned it the other night.
No, I haven't read that article. As
Yeah, I did. I couldn't talk with the mask on because I couldn't breathe with it on. So, but this is part of it. Parents in Florida because of the masks issue. One other thing I just want to say, that I have a hard time with the way the state and the city is figuring out the numbers. Because 53 active cases, 105. I don't want people to think that I hate kids. I'm not trying to murder anybody, because that's what's going to come out later, probably on Facebook. So let's clear the air right now about this. It's just the way the numbers are coming out. If we have a city, they're calculating it one way. The numbers just don't jive. If we have a population about 89,000 people, and we have 105 cases in a 7-day period, 53 active cases, there's no way it can be substantial. We have a low amount of cases, and we have a high population here. And so then I keep trying to figure out, how does this city and the state figure this out with the population? It's not by population, which it really probably should be, because if it was, it would be less than 0%. And I'm not a mathematician by any stretch of the means. I know how to do research, and I've compiled this all today, between yesterday and today, to have my facts in here. And I just want to say one more thing. It's also been shown here that the masks, and there's warning on these products now, this product contains chemical known to the state of California, and California is more restrictive than anybody when it comes to, you know, the emissions and everything, to cause cancer, birth defects, and other reproductive. So between what Florida parents did and with this, that's a large thing to put on a child's face for 6 to 8 hours a day. And so I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Excuse me, we're not having clapping or anything, or I will ask you to leave. Do you understand? Everyone. I am perfectly happy to make it a closed session. I would prefer not to, however. So, thank you. Moving on. I didn't have any questions. Thank you for a very clear and detailed presentation, Ms. Bagley. Ms. Bishop?
Thank you, I have no questions.
Ms. Timmons?
Thank you, Ms. Bagley. And Ms. Johnson, did you get that out of Fox News?
Miss
Information?
Timmons?
Just ask the question.
Ms. Bagley's
No,
time.
I didn't, because I don't watch Fox News and I don't watch CNN, any of the fake news, so I got it off the internet. And it's children health organizations, and you can take a look at everything that I've done. Enough is enough with the attacks.
Enough. Excuse me, Mr. Guarino, I'm not going to recognize you. Excuse me. This is Ms. Bagley's time, and we are going to respect her time. She has someplace to be. I want to make sure that she gets out of here in a timely manner. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to thank Ms. Bagley, and I just wanted to tell her that there are people on this board that have confidence in the information that you give us. Even though other people present other information, I have my faith is in the numbers and the information that you give us from the health department. So thank you.
Thank you,
That's all I wanted to say, Madam
Thank you, Mr. Guarino.
Okay.
Mr. Dunn?
So I just had a quick question. When you talked about the majority of people who are getting COVID are now people who are unvaccinated, and our youth don't have the option to be vaccinated. And at this point, I think you said there was 8% of our total cases are seen from kids between 0 to 9 age group. So at this point, are we seeing an increase of the kids in that 0 to 9 age group now because they're unvaccinated that are, so is that group increasing in cases compared to the overall number since they're unvaccinated and the older age groups have the option to be vaccinated?
That's a good question. The numbers that we're seeing go across the age groups, and so we're not seeing at this particular time any higher number in adolescents at this particular time. Again, these are going across the different age groups. The numbers that I presented on the total was based on what we've had over the past pandemic period. So that was a cumulative number of that 0 to 9 and that 10 to 19. For right now, we haven't, as far as the folks that we're seeing with the cases right now, the majority has been in unvaccinated individuals. There have been some cases that have come through that have been in individuals that are also vaccinated. Individuals that have a higher immunocompromised system, if they were vaccinated, you're starting to see breakthrough disease in those individuals. The thing that we're seeing for individuals that are vaccinated that have had COVID is that just as we wanted to see with the vaccine, decreased hospitalization and decreased death. So those individuals are having milder illness. What we are seeing globally and nationally is that for those individuals that do have the Delta variant, those are the ones that they're starting to see more in the hospital across all age groups that are unvaccinated.
All right, thank you. It's interesting to see the increase in that age group when you're discussing masking of elementary school students or middle school, considering that of the older age groups, we have the option to be vaccinated, so it's more of an option in that way. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ms. Brunel?
I have no questions, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any questions from members of administration? Everyone's giving me that look like, no. Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Bagley, for coming and sharing the most up-to-date data with us and giving us your time this evening. And we will, a little late, but hopefully you can still make it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for this time.
Okay, if everybody could just make sure that she has enough room to get out, again. The door. Oh, yes, you can use the side door. We want to make sure that the exits are clear. I don't want the fire marshal to come in and get mad at me, because nobody ever wants to anger the fire marshal. So, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. After that will be public comments. So now is the last possible moment to sign up for public comments if that is what you would like to do. Okay, so on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add or remove from the consent agenda? I don't see anything. Okay. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. When you're ready.
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Seema's not here. Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we don't have any items removed. Does anyone have any communications outside of the consent agenda? No? I'm looking down, which isn't helpful. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the public comments. We have a lot of people signed up for public comments. I see people kind of signed in the margin instead of flipping it over. I'll try and divide all these up so I can read them. I am going to suggest to the board that we limit our public comments, given the number of them, to individuals who either live in Nashua, have students in Nashua, work for the district, or service our students in some way. For example, clergy member, doctors, therapists, etc. Does anyone?
Madam President, how many are outside of Nashua?
I
there a
don't
lot?
know. I can't tell. People didn't write what city they're in. So we can assume people are in Nashua, although, so, all right, we can just go forward.
Thank you.
All right. Except for Mr. Staples, who I know is right here on the top.
I provide services to children. I provide recovery services through smartrecovery.org. I am a trained facilitator.
Okay, Mr. Staples, thank you for letting us know that. You signed up at the top. You can go first.
There was no room.
Yep, that's fine.
Sorry.
Do you want me to do this? Did you remind them it's rolling?
Yeah, everything's on the agenda, pretty much.
Do you want me to do this?
What is it?
To modify the policy?
Just go. We'll see how we go. All right, so I do have a little 3-minute timer. Do I need to use my 3-minute timer? Or,
I'll probably be pretty quick.
okay.
So
Oh, wait, the mic is not on, Mr. Staples.
Is that good?
Yes, okay.
So I support everything that Paula Johnson had to say. And if any of you have not done the research outside of the CDC, you probably should. Otherwise, you really don't care about the safety and well-being of the children. I see everyone out here shilling the vaccine, but have they reported any of the VAERS data, the adverse events from getting a vaccine, which is also known as a vaccine injury? Some of you may not know that State Senator of New Hampshire, Senator French, recently got his second vaccine, and he is now vaccine injured. This untested experimental vaccine that you're pushing on our children, and especially from this BLM crowd, I would advise you to recall the Tuskegee experiment. Think about it. Remember history. Now all of a sudden you trust the government and everything they tell you? Wake up. Send your dirty face diaper off to the lab for yourself and see what it comes back with.
Thank you, Mr. Staples. Okay, next I have Amit Kumar. No.
Hi, my name is Amit Kumar. I'm a physician here in Nashua. I serve as an allergy immunologist for over 13 years. I also have children in the district as well. This is kind of an adjunct to, we had submitted a letter on part of various pediatricians, family practitioners, a variety of the physicians in the area, both at Foundation Medical Partners and Dartmouth, simply encouraging the use of masking for this coming school year. We think that it's vitally important that kids get back into school. Obviously, last year was very difficult. Remote learning was hard for the kids, it was hard for the parents, it was hard for the community. We feel that going back to school is a vitally important thing, and we think that masking should be a part of that. My role as a physician has changed a little bit. A lot of times I see people for sniffles, like nasal allergies and food allergies and asthma. But nowadays, I'm a vaccine advocate. I mean, simply to go over, there's a lot of misconceptions about the vaccine. There's a lot of misinformation. People are drawing on social media to make conclusions about things. And a lot of times when we're spending time with patients, it's really to allow them to kind of allay some of those fears. And we're still in that process, as you know. I mean, if we look at that data that was presented earlier today, number one, we're still combating that. So every visit I'm spending with patients, I'm spending a little bit of time just asking them. I'm not forcing. I'm just simply saying, here's some of the data, here's some of the information, and trying to do that. And we think that there's two essential strategies when it comes to combating the pandemic. Number one, vaccination, right? Because vaccination is ultimately leading to less disease in those populations. And number two, it's mitigation strategies within the community, whether it be quarantining people who are symptomatic or, simply masking. And we know that school environment, given the increased infectivity of Delta, there could be very easy community spread in a classroom setting. And we think that simply asking people to mask as the year starts is kind of a good way of seeing if we can help to prevent that spread, and then kind of feel out and see what happens. Like, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen with this pandemic, let alone the fact, we're all still flabbergasted that we're in a pandemic, if you think about it. But to start the year masked and then to take away that policy at some point if community spread remains low, if people are doing well, if students are staying healthy and safe, if we feel that it's a safe strategy at that point based on scientific guidelines and based on public health measures and based on scientific standards, we feel that that would be a much better way of trying to make that decision as opposed to going into the year with a non-mask strategy. As you guys know, the multiple organizations have recommended masking, whether it be the AAP, the CDC now, and the WHO. We worry too, there could be various different things in terms of how this may affect children. One is hospitalization rates could go up. We know that may occur. Is that my 3 minutes?
It is. If you could wrap it up, please.
Okay,
Sorry.
so, like I said, I would like to just encourage that you guys use scientific standards to make your policies this year. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Okay. I am not doing well. Danielle Dunitz, please feel free to correct me.
Hi, good evening. My name is Danielle Dunitz. I'm a pediatrician in Nashua. I grew up in Nashua, attending Nashua Public Schools. And I'm here today because I'm concerned about the health of the children in our community. We would love the children to all go back to school like normal. However, if we start removing COVID precautions, such as universal masking too soon, we will likely have COVID transmission in the schools and be back to full remote learning. The Delta variant, which is now predominant in the U.S., is not last year's strain. Last year, someone with COVID would infect 2 people on average. With the Delta variant, the R0 is up to 8, meaning one person infects 8 other people. And instead of it taking up to 15 minutes to infect someone, this variant can infect someone in as little as 5 seconds. Community transmission in Hillsborough County as of last week is considered substantial. As physicians, we are seeing that children are getting sick from COVID, especially the Delta variant. Since the spring of 2020, the mortality rate for COVID in children is twice that of the worst flu season in the last 10 years. Children shouldn't be dying in 2021 of preventable infectious diseases, period. Thousands have suffered from multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children, or MIS-C, a potentially fatal complication of COVID. And up to 1/3 of children with COVID, whether mild, moderate, or severe symptoms, are developing long-haul COVID symptoms such as chronic fatigue, brain fog, smell and taste disturbance, and heart inflammation. We don't know what this means for their long-term health. The U.S. certainly has made progress with a highly effective vaccine. However, only 40% of children 12 and up have been vaccinated, and half the school population, children's ages 5 through 11, have not yet had the opportunity to be vaccinated. I understand this year the state has given the school systems minimal input on reopening. However, the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC are calling for universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of their vaccination status, and the continuation of COVID-19 precautions. Please listen to the experts. If you want uninterrupted in-person learning, COVID-19 precautions in schools should be what was recommended last year at a minimum. Schools have multiple rules, whether or not someone can wear a hat, chew gum, how short someone's shorts can be. Asking everyone to wear a mask in a pandemic demonstrates responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dinitz. Okay. Caitlin Pearl.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Fahey Pearl. I live at 35 Lutheran Drive. I'm here as a parent. I'm asking that we keep, at this point, masking of children a family decision. I appreciate the information. I appreciate the district communicating that they are making vaccines easier for those that would like them. I know that my family has used the information and we've done what's best for our household. I have a multi-generational household. We do what we need to keep my mother safe and our children safe. I also know that there are families that have different views on how to handle COVID that are different than mine. We're not going to change their minds at this point. That said, I don't believe that masking my healthy children for 6.5 hours a day with minimal breaks keeps anyone safe. I respect that there are parents that feel differently and teachers as well. But I imagine my 8-year-old sitting in his 3rd grade class at 1:30 in the afternoon trying to concentrate on math in the same mask, itching, soggy from the day. Last year I sent him to school in a mask. He came home with that same mask on every time, even though there were extras in his backpack. Now throw in the teacher stopping the lesson to tell him to pull up his mask, which I am absolutely certain she had to do with my child. Now he's concentrating on worry that his teacher's mad, the student's staring, still itching from the soggy mask, and probably little to no math. Now throw in sensory delays, his ADHD, and just simple childhood behavior. These things didn't pause when COVID started. They're still there, and I cringe to think the amount of times that he touched his face in a single day last year. Children weren't coming to school in N95 masks. They were coming to school in whatever their parents could find on Amazon, and most likely what was cheapest. These, as I've read in many places, including the CDC, still let air droplets go through. And with those hands touching them constantly, I can only imagine what else. Because we did manage to get strep throat in our household 3 times. The metrics that you shared on the agenda are a little vague to me. I appreciate Ms. Johnson asking how we get into the different ones, because I'm also not a mathematician and it doesn't make sense to me. Does a cluster in a nursing home or something affecting adults affect our children in the school? I appreciate everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pearl. Ms. Allison Dyer.
All my things down here. Allison Dyer, Woman Ave. So, do masks reduce COVID transmission in children? Believe it or not, I could only find a single retrospective study on the question, and its results were inconclusive. Yet 2 weeks ago, the CDC sternly decreed that 56 million U.S. children and adolescents, vaccinated or not, should cover their faces regardless of the prevalence of infection in their community. Authorities in many places took this as a cue to impose mandates, school and elsewhere, on the theory that masks can do no harm. This isn't true. Some children are fine wearing a mask, others struggle. Those who have myopia can have difficulty seeing because the mask fogs their glasses. Masks can cause severe acne and other skin problems. The discomfort of masks distracts some children from learning. By increasing airway resistance during exhalation, masks can lead to increased levels of carbon dioxide in the blood, and masks can also be vectors for pathogens if they become moist or are used for too long. The possible psychological harm of widespread masking is an even greater worry. Facial expressions are integral to human connection, particularly for young children who are only learning how to signal fear, confusion, and happiness. Covering a child's face mutes these nonverbal forms of communication and can result in robotic emotionless interactions, anxiety, and depression. Seeing people speak is a building block of development. It is especially important for children with disabilities such as a hearing impairment. The adverse developmental effects of requiring masks for a few weeks may be minor, but we can't say that without any confidence when the practice stretches on for months or years. And what about the risk of COVID, which mask mandates are intended to ameliorate? The CDC reports that for the week of July 31st, the rate of hospitalization with COVID for children 5 to 17 was 0.5 per 100,000, which the amount would be roughly about 250 patients. The CDC acknowledges that not all these children were hospitalized for COVID. Viral testing at admission is routine, even for patients who have no COVID symptoms. Children who do develop COVID symptoms are at minimal risk of long COVID, according to the Lancet study published on August 3rd. Almost all children had symptom resolution by 8 weeks, providing reassurance about long-term outcomes. We have been encouraging Americans to wear masks since the beginning of the pandemic, but special attention should be paid to many children who struggle with masks. Public health officials claim their decisions are based on science, but there's no science behind the mask mandate for children. This study from Dr. McCary and Johns Hopkins found that about $42 billion of the NIH spent on research last year. Less than 2% went to COVID clinical research, and not a single grant was dedicated to studying children in masks. In the absence of data, mask mandates have ignited a culture war. Yet if masks do reduce asymptomatic transmission in children, they likely rank no higher than the mitigation strategies we've already been trying to adopt in the schools, such as ventilation, hand washing, and staying home when sick. Any child who wants to wear a mask should be free to do so, but forcing them to make a personal health and developmental sacrifice for the sake of adults who have had the opportunity to get vaccinated or recovered from natural infection is abusive. Before we order the masking of the Nashua school children who are too young to vote and don't have a lobby, let's see the data showing the benefits and weigh them against the long-term harm.
Thank you, Ms. Dyer. Alicia Houston?
Alicia Houston, Westwood Drive. Dr. Garrett Brisson, a London neurologist and neurophysiologist with a PhD in pharmacology, stated, in part, that prolonged mask wearing for hours can cause irreversible brain damage. According to a recent Stanford peer-reviewed study on the efficacy of masks, the study determined that 1, the practice of wearing face masks has compromised safety and efficacy. 2, both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective to reduce human-to-human transmission. 3, wearing face masks has adverse physiological and psychological effects on both adults and children. 4, long-term consequences of wearing face masks on health are detrimental. Under which section of the current budget will this board, should it choose to make masks mandatory, provide fitment tests like an OSHA fitment test for the at or about 11,000 students in the Nashua School District, all staff, all administration, and any visitors? Should this board wish to re-implement a mask mandate, which medical professionals will be monitoring the blood oxygen saturations, heart rate, cognitive awareness, and more for all students, staff, administrators, visitors, or others? Is this something that the taxpayers will be responsible for, or has this major expense already been factored into the pre-existing budget? Nashua High School dress code policy states in part, nothing that impedes the safety and security, such as any headgear that could conceal the identity without medical documentation. How is the Nashua School District keeping our children safe if the school building includes children, staff, and visitors wearing masks, which clearly, in accordance with the dress code policy, would conceal their identity and jeopardize the building's physical safety, while simultaneously, if this board should implement a mask mandate, would violate the policy? Parents and guardians are the decision makers over our children. We are not beholden to your personal perspectives. This Board of Education is responsible for the education of the Nashua School District. You are not responsible to develop community health protocols. Make masks optional. From March of 2020 to present, many of you have set the expectation that we, as parents and guardians, must grovel and preserve our parental rights. Let me remind this board, this is not about anti-masks or pro-masks. This is about our rights over our children. You do not have my consent to mask my children. Many others may likely feel the same. Make masks optional. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Houston. Ms. Lehoreau? I am butchering that, and I apologize. My in-laws are French, and they would be so disappointed in me.
You did well, thank you. My name is Lynn LaRue. I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old here in the Nashua School District, a freshman and a junior. I'm also an emergency room nurse and ICU nurse here in one of our Nashua hospitals. I'm not going to throw out any statistical data. We've heard enough of that tonight. I'm going to tell you what I see in the emergency department. And this is a 4 to 6-fold of admissions of our children who are there for suicide ideation, depression, anxiety. When asked multiple times, it's always masks, social distancing. They feel guarded. They're emotionally distressed. They can't communicate properly. They feel like they're looked down upon. They feel like they're doing something wrong if they don't wear the masks. Masks are a hindrance. They are a pain in the butt. Nobody likes wearing them, and I wear them 60 hours a week, so I'm telling you, I know this. You cannot force our kids to wear masks in school for 8 hours a day. They're part of my uniform now. I'm a new nurse. I'm only 4 years old into nursing. If I had known this was coming, I probably would not have pursued a nursing career. However, I love my job, so I suck it up. We in the nursing field wear them because we're exposed to infected people all day long. Kids are not. Doctors wear them in operating rooms because they need to keep sterile fields. This is the only reason why we wear them in the medical community, not for regular patient interactions. Furthermore, studies have shown persistently and consistently that masks don't work. The influenza particulate is 12 micrograms in size. The COVID particulates are 15 times smaller. So if masks have shown to be ineffective for influenza, they certainly aren't going to be effective for COVID-19. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Beth Scare?
Last spring, when school was still closed or still remote, I tutored for a young immigrant boy with the United Way at the YMCA. And he was in first grade, and we both wore masks as required by the Y. And he seemed to be way behind for a first grader in his ability to read. I was trying to teach him, and the masks were a real problem. He also had a speech impediment on top of his, that may have been the cause for his reading difficulty, and going remote, of course, did not help. And his parents have English as a second language, and they couldn't afford like special programs for him. Tutoring was what they had available. And, when it really got down to like some of the more difficult sounds, phonic sounds, wearing a mask was a huge hindrance. I mean, it was super frustrating, and I felt like if as long as masks are continued, he's going to fall further and further behind in his ability to read. And we know, reading is the foundation for everything they learn at school. So, I mean, think about these kids. What they're missing out on when they can't see faces, when people can't see their faces. And And I appreciate that you've already, removed the mask mandate before, and I'm really grateful that you did that, and I hope you can keep with that without masks at school. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Scare. Daniel Sage.
I was here 2 years ago because you guys wanted to put a firing range into the school. I thought we were over with safety stuff. I guess not. There's already been some misinformation stated on things with masks and stuff, but I don't want to deal with that. What I want to deal with is the legal aspect. So I ran as independent for California governor before we left and came over to this coast in 2006. I'm the first candidate in 30 years who actually did the paperwork legally because the other people couldn't follow the law. You guys are forgetting reckless endangerment and negligence. If a child dies because you don't put mask in, you guys don't get immunity. That's waived, especially for the superintendent. Anything that causes death, you cannot encourage people to spread a deadly virus. No business can do that. You have to cook your hamburgers completely fully cooked. You cannot tell someone to cook it under or you're held accountable. You cannot do things that can cause the death or harm of other people. That's just the law. That's been the law for as long as possible. And it's really ridiculous that we're even having a discussion against the CDC. Now, there are some people who don't want masks, stuff like that. There are ways to get around this. There are ways to do remote. You can have the people who want masks to be remote. You can have people who don't want masks to be remote. But you have to think about and protect the children. And you have to use the recommendations that are given to you by the experts, not people who are pulling stuff offline on research that is falsified. A big one is, people have said that masks don't stop the coronavirus. There's a Japanese study where they actually used actual masks on dummy heads, and they used the actual virus. And it did, it blocked it. Look it up. 50% for cloth mask, 90% for KN95s and 95s. It is been studied into the ground. Are there conflictions? Yes, you have to have your mask fit right. It has to be tight. There are certain things, but you have to follow the guidelines. In the same aspect, you would not allow students to come in here barefoot. Why? The damage to their own feet and the possibility of disease is the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Christy Basada.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Christy Basada. I am a parent of 2 Nashua School District students, and I am here against the advice of my physician because I am immunocompromised. When my immune system is overstimulated, as in the case of certain viruses and as has happened, it makes certain antibodies that attack my red blood cells and my other organs. This is very dangerous for me. Like many people with autoimmune conditions, I've been told to stay out of places like this, and people with autoimmune conditions have stayed out of this place. And so I am here in order to give us a voice because we have not been represented well here. I don't need to remind you of the recommendations of the CDC or the American Academy of Pediatrics. I am not a physician, and they speak well for themselves. And Ms. Bagley has shared the data with you on the vaccination rates of our youth, which are less than half, and that's of the portion of the population that can be vaccinated. Sending our students to school without a multi-layered prevention strategy as recommended by the experts is setting us up for super spreader events in our schools. And under these circumstances, the question is not whether our children will become ill, but when. And for people like me, the question continues to be not whether the children will bring it home to their immunocompromised relatives, but when. I am aware, people have shared with me, that their families are comfortable with COVID-19, they are comfortable with the odds, and I really wish I could feel that way. But for me and others like me who live with and love our students in the school district, this feels like a game of Russian roulette. While my vaccinated husband and children will likely be very well protected by their vaccines, the effects of my vaccine is less certain. And so at this moment, my family is making the very difficult decision to have me move out of the house so that my children can attend school. I cannot describe how difficult this is. And yet I actually know other immunocompromised families who are making similar decisions right now. They are watching this on TV and weighing their options, and others at this time are attending the VLAX orientation to remove their children from public schools entirely. We are not taking this lightly because we cannot. I 100% agree that having in-person school is very important for the health and well-being of our students. I also agree that there is no way to eliminate all risks. We all endure some risk every day, all of us. But I am respectfully asking you to minimize the risk for our students by reintroducing multi-layered COVID mitigation strategies recommended by the AAP and the CDC. To do anything other than following the best scientific guidance that is available to us fails to provide reasonable protection to all families, and especially to families like mine. I thank you so very much for your time and your consideration, and I thank you for always trying to do what is right for this school district. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Basada. Kimberly Hester.
My name is Kimberly Hester. I'm a resident here in Nashua as well as a pastor in the community. And tonight I speak first as a parent and then as a pastor. I want to begin by thanking you, the school board, and all that are involved in the decision-making and leading of the schools in our community. Much like decision-making and leading within the faith communities, no matter what decisions you make, there will always be those who disagree. I speak for myself, but I know that other faith leaders are holding you in prayer and are thankful for your service as well. As a parent, I am greatly concerned as my son begins first grade that the current draft plan does not yet include recommendations made by the CDC, the City of Nashua Department of Public Health and Community Services, not to mention the recommendations by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Medical Association. We bear a responsibility to care for all in our community, to create a safe working and learning community to the best of our ability. That's masking. Masking is not 100% effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19 and the variants, but it is effective in greatly reducing that transmission and keeping vaccinated and unvaccinated alike protected. When masking is required by all, the data trends show the rate of infection drops. Yet we hear people saying, it's my choice, so do you make your own. The failure with that statement is that your choice not to wear a mask impacts me and my family, the community I serve, and the larger Nashua community. Wearing a mask is one piece of the puzzle shown to be effective and safe. Do I love wearing my mask? Absolutely not. I long for the time when I don't need to think about it or run back to my car when I'm going grocery shopping. But I hold my communal responsibility high, and I will do my part to protect those around me and my family. This is my call as a citizen, as a neighbor, as a mom, and as a person of faith. In light of the current state of the pandemic, mask wearing indoors by anyone over 2 is the easiest step we can take. It is a step we must take, all of us, to care for our community and get through this. We must have required mask wearing for the protection of our students, faculty, staff, and community in the plan going forward. Thank you again for your hard work. My deepest sympathies for the pressure and at times threatening rhetoric that is directed at you. Do the right thing and protect this community with these simple, proven protections. You're in my prayer, and if you need support, let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hester. It is now 7:10. We have reached our 30 minutes. That's double our normal public comment period. Ms. Bishop, you had a motion you wanted to make.
So I want to move to modify policy BEDF, which was board approved in January of 2008, to extend the time limit for public comment to accommodate all those who have signed up.
Do you want to modify the whole policy, or do you just want to allow it for this evening? Because typically we don't allow the modification of a policy at the meeting unless it's an emergency. Can you please restate your motion without modifying the policy? You just want to extend it for right now?
I move to extend the time limit on policy BEDF to accommodate all those who have signed up for this evening.
Get rid of the policy.
I just want to extend it.
Just for tonight, not the policy?
No.
Okay. So I don't want there to be confusion in the minutes later on thinking that we changed a policy, because we're not.
Okay. So I move to extend the time limit for public comment to accommodate all those who have signed up this evening.
Okay, good.
Second.
Second.
Lots of seconds. Okay, so the motion is to extend the time limit tonight. Okay. Did anyone want to say anything about it, or are we good to go on our roll call? Everyone is quiet. Okay. I'm putting too much on your plate at the same time. Thank you all for giving us your patience.
Okay. So Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Giglio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. I appreciate your patience for that. I think it's important to all of us that everybody who's taken the time to come out here and sign up get a chance to have their comments. So the next person on my list is Darlene Ford.
Hello, I'm Darlene Ford. I'm the parent of a third grader in the Nashua School District, MIT class of '93. I'd like to thank Mrs. Bagley and the doctors for speaking. I assure you they represent a broad consensus of the scientific community that we have a serious problem and we all need to take action. For instance, wearing masks. People who get COVID are contagious days before they realize they are sick. Masking as a strategy is much more effective if everybody does it, even if they think they're well. I'd like to bring back one of the points that Mrs. Bagley had made, that everyone who gets COVID spreads it to between like 4 and 8 people. Let's take the best case scenario. One person gets it. They give it to 4 people, each of whom gives it to 4 people. Now you have 16. And then 64, 256, 1024. You may think things aren't that bad yet. We'll take action if it gets bad like Florida later. You know, we'll take action when the heads of the hospitals start crying on the TV news. No matter how high your threshold for action is, we will get there. It just keeps going up until we're willing to take different actions and get different consequences. We would be better off, just in terms of public order, to start the school year with rules that are safe to have all year long, rather than, coming in after 4 weeks and saying, oops, it's just not safe to have not made this rule, kids, there's one more. Like the doctor said, it is much easier to relax, to start careful and relax the rules later when we are sure we're out of the woods. Masking is a thing we can do to help. This, is as reasonable as any other rule on the dress code. I know they are not all popular, but we can handle this. I have a confession to make. My 8-year-old can outrun me. If I can wear a mask all day, so can he. Yes, my kid can breathe. I've seen him run and climb in his mask. He is fine. The reports of masks getting gross, they're a little exaggerated. They're like socks. Yes, they get disgusting if you don't wash them, but we are all capable of laundry. This is not the real problem here. Yes, I'm concerned about my kid's social development, but the key thing I want him to learn is concern for others, that he is responsible at school for behaving in a way that is safe for the people around him. That means that he should be wearing his mask. Thank you all very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Wayne Saya?
Hello, ladies, gentlemen. I've been asked, I was asked to prepare a document for one of the board members here, and so I thought it would be best that I also come in person to explain the document. I only have 3 minutes, so I can only give you some of the explanations. First of all, as an expert witness, I've been recognized by the 114th Congress of the United States back in 2015. I'm a former member of the High Performance Building Congressional Caucus in Washington, D.C. I'm an inventor, patent number 4204874, with regard to electronic engineering. I authored the book, The Art of Understanding Your Building's Personality, which contains some of the information that I'll be discussing tonight. I'm not going to go over all 4 pages, 5 pages of my curriculum vitae, but what I will say is that I'm a friend of the board. And as a friend of the board, I want to make sure that you understand in the document that I prepared for one of your members, which I was required to put in, that that any policy that you prepare is covered. You are covered from liability, except if someone is injured, and that injury results in your policy. If your policy created the injury, not only can the board be sued, but you can be sued individually because your liability goes away. So you have to understand that. Number one, I was an expert in MERV, minimum efficiency rating value with regard to filtration. That's one of my background. And a flue has between 0.04 and 0.05 microns. That's the size of it. And I'm sure that your expert, Mr. McKinley, I don't see very well without glasses, will vouch for some of these numbers I'm giving. And an N95 mask goes only up to 0.1, which is 1/10. So 400ths times 1/10. That means that an N95 mask does not have the ability to stop a flu virus. Now, that's from a professional witness. I will also tell you that the NIH also has acknowledged, along with the CDC, that N95 masks were never designed for children and not designed for children. That means any policy that is created with regard to requiring children to wear masks, they cannot wear an N95 mask. And that is the most potent mask if you're even going to come close to stopping a virus, which means that children can only use surgical masks and they can only use any other masking that they have. And those masks come extremely far from the 400s to 500 micron size of a flu virus. So that means that the young ladies and young men sitting up here that are wearing masks, if one of them has the flu, the person next to them could very well catch it, even though they're having masks on. That's the science of it, and I'm here to explain the science. I'm not here one way or the other. So what I'd like to express is that I'm not going to tell you, do the policy, don't do the policy. I'm here just to explain the science. And the science says that masks don't work. And I was surprised even when I was given this assignment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saya.
I thank you kindly. Okay.
Mic drop, number 2.
Mr. Staples, thank you. Please don't make a disruption. Okay, Michael Joseph.
Can I recant on that because I don't meet the criteria that you mentioned for the.
The criteria wasn't approved, Mr. Joseph.
Okay.
But I am going to ask you to keep it to 3 minutes or less.
Oh, it's much less. If I can find the, they would.
Do try to speak into the microphone, Mr. Joseph.
Michael Joseph, 184 Main Street. We have a microbe. It's very smart. Every time it replicates itself, it advances its ability to do more damage. And it's been programmed to do that within itself. Recently, the paradigm has changed in that a recent CBS News report, you can check it, states that a full 20% of the people being affected by the Delta variant are children. In addition to that, it's become apparent that every reasonable step, whatever that may be, needs to be taken to protect students and staff from spreading this particular microbe as the 2021-22 school year begins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Carla Leclerc.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Leclerc, and thank you for letting me speak tonight. Our kids have not had a normal school day since March 13th, 2020. Think about that for a second. My son began his freshman year last year online, as we all did. He has a lot of anxiety. He's very shy, not involved in sports, so it was difficult for him to make friends when he went back to school for just 2.5 days last year in February. And then in April for a full week, but completely masked, and without school lunch in the cafeteria. There was no opportunity to make new friends. He was miserable. And just this last weekend, he told me he doesn't want to go back to school in the fall if it's the same as it was last year. What are we doing to our kids? My daughter is in intensive special needs and going into 8th grade. She absolutely loves school. She just finished the ESY program, the summer school program, last week, without any restrictions, distancing, or masks. She was so happy and excited to be there. She was a completely different kid than she was last year. How can I turn around in the next few weeks and put a mask on her face again, when all summer she's been running around without one, as all of us have, and all our kids? We are sending mixed messages to our kids that school is an unsafe place. Let's talk about health. I'm a doctor, and health is my passion. But the only people who should be in charge of our children's health are us parents. Not Dr. Fauci, not the CDC, and certainly not the Board of Education. As parents, we want choice. We want freedom. We want a normal school year for our kids. Think about their mental health. Suicide rate was up 5 times last year. Do we really want a repeat of that school year? There will always be viruses, just like COVID-19, And as that gentleman just explained, a mask will not protect against one. Virus particles are much too small and they go right through. Maybe we should be teaching our kids about the immune system and how it works, how resilient and amazing and healthy and strong their bodies are, and that they can fight viruses. Maybe we should be teaching them that instead of teaching them to be in constant fear and that germs are the enemy and hugs are the enemy. This distancing in masks and constant sanitation has to end. At some point, we have to decide what is more important, a false sense of security with these restrictions and masks, or freedom and our constitutional rights. We choose freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. LeClaire. Lisa Bollinger.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm here seeking mask choice for all students, teachers, and administration. Look around the room. Look at you here on the board. Half of you are not wearing masks, and half of you are. Look at the audience. Half are wearing masks, half aren't. Again, wearing masks should be by choice. There are many disadvantages to mandating these masks, which is what we've already heard. Teachers and children hiding their expressions. In doing so, masking affects the quality of the education children receive. Older children are subjected to, as are the younger, depression and anxiety as a result. Forcing masks upon children and not allowing their parents to make a choice is going to affect the quality of education that these children receive. Children are distracted and overheated by these masks, but their parents can choose to still have them wear them. And again, these younger children are missing social cues that they need to learn and develop, all because they're wearing these masks. People who are hard of hearing are also having trouble. How many people tonight have we listened to that we can't even understand what they're saying because they're masked? This is happening in the schoolroom as well. So look around you. Choice is all we need. And the choice to not wear masks is an okay choice, as is the choice to continue to wear masks. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bollinger. Okay. Joanne St. John. Okay, thank you, Ms. St. John. Sue Newman.
Hi. Sue Newman, 25 Charlotte Avenue, Nashua. I am also a state rep in Ward 2. We have 6 grandchildren, various ages and various stages of being vaccinated, but all of them are going to be going back to school in the next several days. As an illustration, the ones in North Carolina, the 14-year-old is going to be wearing a mask to school because her 9-year-old brother cannot be vaccinated due to his age at this point. And the parents made it perfectly clear that that's how it was going to be. She was fine with it. She attended sports camp this summer. She wore a mask, at least in part of the activities, and the little one, he went to a summer school program, and they all were masked in their school. This is my first pandemic. I looked around just a little bit. I'm going to say I'm on the upper edge of the spectrum of the age group within this room. And I just want to go back to what my grandparents must have been dealing with back in 1918 time. I don't even know if they knew there was something going on. They lived in such a remote area. Somehow they survived. They sucked it up. The boys went off to war, and people did what they needed to do to get through World War II, and they just survived. They just survived because they sacrificed and everybody pulled together. I just want to say, I think you've got to consider the mask option, and I would like to see it be something that you start the school year with. I hope that the masks could come down if the transmission of the virus was reduced, but I think you need to start there. We need to look out for each other, and the first thing we need to all do is be vaccinated and to stop the disease from transmitting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Newman. Sarah Wessel?
I wrote something down, but before I read this, listening to both sides, you guys are in a tough spot. There's one side, and then there's the other side. And I'm hearing, like Christy talked about, the people who have immune disorders and things like that. And I do feel really bad for people who are in that category. It's definitely a heartbreaking thing. But let me ask you, have you ever seen a child have a panic attack because of a mask? I have. They can't breathe. Their chest tightens up. Then they pass out. I have a child that struggles with this. It is so heart-wrenching, just like it is with people who have physical ailments that are more visible or maybe more widely accepted as a more medical issue. But anxiety is real. These children who can't breathe, it's causing long-term damage to their emotional health. And that is not something that I want to have to see my child go through or anyone go through later on in life. I don't want my child to be one of the ones in the ER dealing with the things that the nurse earlier talked about. I'm here today to ask you to leave masking our children up to their parents and guardians, the people who know what is best for their children. Last I checked, the district is not allowed to administer any kind of medicine without guardians signing off on it, and masks should be handled the same way. Let me explain. Masks can cause harm for some children. There are major anxiety issues arising in children, and the lack of facial recognition for elementary students can be detrimental to their education, their development, and their physical health. There are some children and guardians and staff who feel more comfortable in masks, and they should feel free to wear them. This is a very polarizing topic, and we need to tread carefully as a district. When talking about a matrix, it needs to be configured to our school district only, not including nursing homes and hospitals. The current matrix leaves us with skewed numbers. I appreciate all the thought and time that's going into our upcoming school year, and I'm excited to have my child return to her elementary school that we have missed so very much. But the children and staff deserve the ability to choose normalcy. Please keep in mind that this variant passed through Great Britain, Australia, and India. The drop in cases was sharp, and the second wave was over in a matter of weeks. We are following the same pattern and should be back to low transmission by the end of September. Let us have Nashua once again lead from the front. Let us be the district that trusts the guardians to make health decisions and not make rash decisions based on fear. We need less divisiveness in our city. We can strive for harmony rather than unity, because that allows for all of the different viewpoints to work together for a common goal, rather than trying to convince each other of our opinions. I strongly believe we are here for the goal of making the district amazing for our students and our staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wessel. Sorry. Caroline Segoria.
Good evening. I have a daughter who's going into high school. She's very excited, especially after last year. Last year, because of the way the public school, the policies with handling COVID, we did pull her and put her in private school. And she really isn't private school material. The teachers even told her that. So she's, you know, she went to Catholic school. She's not a Catholic type of student. So she's very excited to be a freshman going into North. And over the summer, she has socialized. She's went to the public pool. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the public pool around here, but it's like packed. And, you know, they're like sardines in there. She's had very many sports camps, and where she's played multiple games in a day in a gym with sweat and everything, and she socializes a lot. She has a lot of friends, and she's never had to wear a mask all summer. And so I think, like most of the parents here, we want it to be a personal choice for our kids to wear a mask or not. I think we know better. I know where I work, we were starting to go in, and because I work for a government agency, there's some mandates that came down, and now we have to wear a mask. So it really affects morale. And I do have employees that have, mental issues, and I know a couple of people have brought up the mental aspect of it, but that really is a big issue that I think that this board has glossed over. And there's scientific data behind that. I think last year, most of my daughter's friends who were great students became bad students, and the mental aspect of being all the restrictions. So please just consider the opinion of the parents who want it to be optional. And like I said, there's been some sad stories here, and my daughter has ADHD, she can't sit still, and everyone has a story, and I just want everyone to have a choice for their kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Segoria. I'm sorry, did I say it wrong? I apologize. Rosemary Torres.
Good evening. I'm Rosemary Torres. I live at 60 Dublin Ave in Nashua. I am a parent of 2 girls in the school, soon to be 3. Hopefully, I am able to start my 4-year-old son into the preschool program next month. I am here as a parent for masks to be optional for parents. I know I've spoken before. I've had one kid that did great remotely and one did not. Both were absolutely thrilled to be back in person. But one, even with, her 504, struggled with in-person with the mask. She absolutely hated it. It was a distraction for her, as we've heard that it's a distraction for many other students, not to mention other, health issues. At the end of the day, it should be parent choice. It really should. Most of the people that could and wanted to get vaccinated have. I know that my almost 11-year-old starting middle school would absolutely get it if she could, but obviously she's not of age yet. So, maybe next year. But for right now, let's please keep it on the table as an option. We've heard that it was a good question about the transmission between the 0 to 9-year-olds, and it hasn't increased. And even the increases in cases are from unvaccinated population. So let's see where we are, and let's at least start with the option. I know you guys as a board will continue monitoring it to see how transmissions continue within the city and the district, and I know that things will obviously change, but at least for now, I don't think, it doesn't sound like it should be mandated. So let's please keep it optionals for families to make that choice for their students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Scott Jackwith.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Jakewith. I live at 22 Syracuse Road in Nashua. And I first want to acknowledge the incredible decision that you guys have to make. You guys have not only the opinions and voices here in front of you, but you're representing parents of over 11,000 students in this district. And some of them have emailed you, some of them have written letters, some of them have made phone calls or stopped you in the supermarket or when you're walking your dog. So you have a lot of data points. In addition, you have the public health department, the recommendations of the school administration. So I understand that and hope that you will put all of those data points together when making this decision. I'm not here to change minds or decisions, but hopefully I can influence tone. To many students in our district, COVID is real. They have lost loved ones. They have been displaced from their homes. Some high school students have actually had to become the breadwinners and have had to put school on the side in order to support their families. So when they hear phrases from anyone from the Nashua community that COVID is a hoax, or that it's just the flu, or it's the sniffles, that can be really, really hurtful to a lot of our families and a lot of our students. So I'm just hoping that as you guys make this really tough decision, we can use empathy for COVID being real for just so many people in our community. And with that being said, whatever the reopening looks like, masks or no masks, we are going to need parents' help. The children's attitudes are a direct influence from our parents' attitudes about how we reopen with the school year. Children are listening at the dinner table about conversations about COVID. They're looking at comments on Facebook, or they're listening to phone conversations that parents are having with other adults. And we need to really help children, whatever the decision is to kind of be able to go with it. And that not only means go with it academically, but also with how they respect other students that may have different opinions about masks or no masks. So I just hope as a community we can come together with whatever decision you guys make, because I know it's a big one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jakewith. James Graham?
Okay, he's my trivia buddy. We used to do trivia with him. Oh.
Hi, I'm James Graham, 14 Iroquois Road. I'm a teacher here in the district, but I come here tonight as a concerned parent of 2 elementary school children. Before I start, I just want to go over what do we know right now. Well, we know the Delta variant's the dominant variant right now. We know that while it could be transmissible by anyone, it's a disease that right now is devastating unvaccinated populations. The majority of people in this country right now are vaccinated, barely, but the majority of them are, and yet in many states, 90+% of the people hospitalized or dying right now are unvaccinated. Fun fact, the majority of students in our middle schools and all of our students in elementary schools are going to go into this year unvaccinated and will be so for multiple months. So we're also, I should mention, seeing increases in cases among children in states that have opened schools. They've been open for a week or 2 now in some states, but we're seeing increases. We know that COVID's going to be a part of school this year in some capacity. The question is, how much do we want it to be so? Another thing, the district plan, as I saw via email a couple days ago, as currently stated, seems to want to go back and bury our heads in the sand and treat everything as if it's 2018 and COVID's not a part of things. But if you'd like to wear a mask, you can. If you were in a submarine and you were about to dive and you gave all the sailors on board the option to close the hatches if they wanted to or not, it's their option, but it's affecting everybody, and we have to consider that. So the question is, what are we doing this year to help our kids? I know some are allowed to wear masks, but masks are more for the people around us than the people wearing them. It's designed to protect others from your breath, not necessarily to protect you from everybody else's. So unless we're all on board, it's not going to do much. I want to send my kids to school, and I'm going to send them masked. But if the rest of their classmates aren't, it's not going to do nearly as much good as if everybody was. Now, some people are talking about You know, this could affect kids' mental health if we're masking them. It could affect the time we have to educate them. I'd like to remind us that every year we have a lockdown drill that mentally messes with kids' heads and interrupts instruction. We have fewer kids a year who die or get injured from gun violence in schools than we do from COVID. We have multiple fire drills. Every couple weeks we have a fire drill. How many kids die or are severely injured from fire in schools every year compared to COVID? It's a bigger issue, and we need to consider that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Graham. Let's see, Regan Lampier.
Hi, I'm Regan Lampier, and I live at 21 Spitbrook Road. I was looking at the charter for our school board recently, and the main purpose of the school board is to protect the health of the children that attend the schools. And this board has done an amazing job so far. You have gone with the science and kept kids safe. And I am confident that you will continue to do the same thing. When it comes right down to it, our opinions don't matter. What matters is the facts. And down in Florida right now, there are pediatric hospitals that are full and cannot accept any more children because too many of them have coronavirus. I've said before this board, some of you know and some of you may not, that I had a child who passed away when he was 8. He died from a respiratory disease. He got a cold that turned to pneumonia. And I do not wish anyone in this town to have that experience. And if one child dies from Nashua, it's too many. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lampier. Lou Juris.
Good evening, Lou Juris here from Haines Street in Nashua. I want to thank the board for keeping our students and staff safe over the past year. Just a couple of thoughts as I read through the policy. I'm of the opinion to have the staff and the teachers fully masked as the year starts. And as the rates go up, if they do go up to 5.5%, then it should be mandatory for all students. But up until that point, strongly urge students to wear masks. And then upon the infection rate, if the Delta rate starts going down to say 4.5%, then making masks optional again. I would also have masks available at all the in the buildings near the principal's office or wherever else is convenient for in case a student wants to wear a mask and they forgot. But thank you for your help so far, and thank you for your consideration of this, as unfortunately the infection rates are going back up over the past few months, and it's starting to hit close to home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Juris. Diana Greer.
Diana Greer. I live at 199 Wilton Road in Peterborough, so I had quite a long drive, but here I am in all my glory. I'm a teacher at the Pennachuck Middle School. Mitigation strategies need to be used together. Like layers of Swiss cheese, the more we use, the better we can combat this pandemic. This plan currently does not include social distancing, testing, tracing, or masks as we go back to school. Having intermittent absences, closing school again because we aren't using these strategies, that's something that could be detrimental. Students not being in school will be more detrimental to students than wearing masks. Masks for children will benefit them just as much as it has adults. Masks can be provided, they were last year. Even ones with windows can be provided for students who are hard of hearing and need that visual aid. We adapt. I teach kids they can adapt. Masks can be removed in circumstances that are necessary or allowed. I took my kids outside for reading articles, doing science experiments. It was wonderful. We can take the masks off then. My 8th graders were awesome last year when it came to wearing their masks and being as safe as they could. And as a speaker said earlier, children are listening. Students' insecurities will occur without a mask or with a mask. So I see 8th graders. I've seen them for the past 7 years. They're gonna be anxious, depressed. I am too. I have a multi-generational family with members who have passed and those too young to be vaccinated. But I also am a teacher who wants my students and my community safe, as they're part of my family too. Children may not have severe symptoms, but we know that others can and will. The Conval District, which is where I live, has been the gold standard during this pandemic. I think they've done a wonderful job of handling going into schools, having different pods, closing down at certain times when need be. And they're in a rural community. I live in the middle of nowhere, to be honest. And they're gonna open requiring masks. We need to be proactive, not reactive. And I think universal masking needs to be implemented as part of this plan, especially when I'm cramming 26 kids into my room, all of them into the cafeteria, computer labs, and the like. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Greer. And that concludes our public comment period. I turned myself off, sorry. That concludes our public comment period for this evening. It is now 10 of 8. I think that we could all use a little break, but I would like to ask that people bear with us because I think it would be nice to hear the superintendent's comments and the student member comments before we stretch our legs, unless Dr. McKinney would rather do it the other way around. I threw that back on you. Wasn't that nice of me?
I leave another tough decision for the board before or after.
Okay. Do we need it now or can we wait?
What do you want to do?
I say let's give it a, let's keep going. All right. Thank you, everybody who took the time to comment and come out this evening. I really appreciate it. And now Dr. McKinney is up. Good luck following that.
All right, thank you. First, I want to thank all the staff members who worked this summer. Last Friday, our Special Education Extended School Year program and the Power Scholars Academy for kids in grades 1 to 9 were the last of 13 summer programs to wrap up. And it was certainly encouraging to see about 1,400 students taking advantage of our programs, which focus on creative and inventive ways to learn. So thank you again to all our summer staff members who really haven't taken a break since the school year ended. Thank you so much. High school fall team tryouts are beginning. All the high school athletes, fall team registration is now taking place. Football tryouts begin this Friday. Cross country, field hockey, golf, soccer, spirit, and volleyball begin Monday. Be sure to log in online as soon as possible, and good luck in tryouts. And coming soon is the 17th annual Nashua Goes Back to School. The Greater Nashua Chamber of Commerce and the City of Nashua welcome families to Nashua Goes Back to School, 5 to 6:30, Thursday, August 26th, at the Nashua Public Library Courtyard. All students and families are invited. All activities and the meet and greet with principals will take place outdoors. As in years past, the principals will be distributing donated school supplies with the help of community volunteers, and families will also have the opportunity to sign up for the federal lunch program. We hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney. Now the board responds to superintendent comments. Ms. Oden?
Thank you for reminding us about Nashua Goes Back to School, and thank you to all those teachers after a really difficult 2 years to sign up to teach summer school. So thank you.
Okay. Ms. Giglio?
I wish to thank the people sitting on that side of the table that are superintendents, assistant superintendents, and business managers or chief financial officers, whatever, for all the hard work that they've been doing, because I think sometimes they're not acknowledged. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Guarino?
I don't have any comments right now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brown, do you have a response to the superintendent's comments?
No comments at this time. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Johnson?
I'll pass.
Okay. thank you. Ms. Bishop?
Just want to say thank you as well, but no comments.
Ms. Timmons?
I have no comments either.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. McKinney. And I especially appreciate you mentioning Nashua goes back to school and the free and reduced lunch forms. Those will all be coming home with students in probably the first day in that giant packet of paperwork that we always ask parents to fill out. Please don't forget to fill those out because we want to make sure that every kid who's eligible for a free or reduced lunch gets one. It's hard to learn when you're really hungry. So the next item on the agenda is the student member of the board comments. I'm going to start with Ms. Brunel because I always go that way and I forget to go this way. It's because I'm right-handed. So Ms. Brunel.
Okay. I'd just like to start out by saying thank you for everyone who's participated in tonight's public comment, and I encourage you to keep showing up for your children because I think you should keep representing them no matter what. I also believe that these conversations are important and the board has done everything that they can do, and especially after this year, I think that the bottom line is kids don't want to be fully remote anymore, but we also don't want to go to school and pay the cost of not being safe. So I think that the board will be able to do whatever they can in their power, and I believe in their abilities. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Brunel. Mr. Dunn?
I agree with Ms. Brunel on, I'm glad that all of you guys are coming out here and sharing your opinions. I know as my job as representative, I'm supposed to represent the opinions of both students and parents, and I think that I've heard a lot of things about everyone just wants to be back to school and have a more normal year, and we can do that as safely as possible and as normal as possible. I know for the high schoolers, people are more pushing to, from the opinions I've heard, are more mask optional because we have the option to get vaccinated, whereas our younger students do not. But from a student perspective, I know sports are going very well. We're having a more normal season than last year where we had 8 games. I know for soccer, now we have like 13 or 14 this year. I know for North, we have an athletic meeting this Wednesday, or I think it might be next Wednesday. I'll check on this Wednesday. So if you're playing any fall sport, the meeting this Wednesday, and make sure that all your registrations are up to date so you can try out. Hopefully everything goes well with sports and, back to school and returning as normal as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Just clarify, South is tomorrow for the athletic meeting and North is Wednesday.
Yep. Okay, thank you. That is
Okay.
some crucial information.
I don't want all the South athletes to.
Yes, no, I'm North.
Not show up. So, okay. So I would like to call a 15-minute recess. Typically, our meeting would be over about now, but I'm really glad that everybody had an opportunity to speak. You don't have to leave. We will resume our meeting in 15 minutes, and we still have lots of stuff on the agenda, like everything. So 15-minute recess starts now. It is 3 minutes of 8. All right, thank you everybody for giving me an opportunity to use my gavel. I turned the recorder back on. I never get to use the gavel and I really enjoy it. So thank you for that. It is 8:40 and apologies to everybody out there who has been waiting for us. We're ready to get back to work. So we don't have a committee on budget. Finance and operations meets tomorrow, tomorrow night. At 6, policy meets, I have my calendars over there. 17th. On the 17th. Mr. Guarino, can you tell us, policies on the 17th, curriculum is when?
The 16th. 16th.
Yeah, Monday 6 p.m. Policy is on the 17th, I'm sorry. Curriculum's on the 16th.
Okay, Mike, sorry.
Okay. Curriculum is on the 16th at 6 p.m. here. Policy is on the 17th at 6 p.m. here.
Okay, thank you. The ad hoc committee is this week on Wednesday, so that 9th to 11th. So we have nothing to report on any of those. Human Resources was today. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Guarino. Wait, do we still have Ms. Brown?
Yes, I hope.
Okay.
Are you there, Jessica?
I am here. Thank you. I can hear you all loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Brown.
Human Resources.
Human Resources was today. Ms. Timmons, what have you
I'd like
got
to
for us?
move to suspend the rules because we met earlier today at 5:35 PM on August the 9th.
Okay, I'll second that.
On the motion to suspend, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Do you have any administrative recommendations for us this evening?
Yes, I do. I move to approve Katie Kloss, Assistant Principal for Nashua High School North for the 2021-2022 school year at an annual salary of $83,000.
Second?
Okay, thank you. The motion was made by Ms. Timmons and seconded by Ms. Oden. Did you want to speak to your motion, Ms. Timmons?
Well, I think Ms. Oden is the one that interviewed her, but today, if she want to speak towards her candidacy, you can. You are on the team.
I had the honor of sitting on the interview team for both assistants at the high school. I think this person will be extremely valuable. I think Mr. Burns has put a good team together, and I see it as a strong team. So she comes from Epping, and she's worked a lot with competencies. So she brings that strength to the district and her experience with that. So she just is excited about coming here, and that's important. So good for North and the administrative team that Mr. Burns is putting together.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Oden.
All right, thank you, Ms. Oden. Anything else? No? All right. Ms. Bishop?
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, welcome, Ms. Kloss. Personnel recommendations.
Yes. Secondly, I'd like to move to approve personnel recommendation dated August the 9th, 2021.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Okay, if not, then, do you need a second?
Always.
Okay.
While we're waiting, I'll just say I want to commend administration. They've done a good job trying to fill in positions where we've lost people, so we had a good number of hires.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. And I don't have on my calendar another special meeting for HR this month. Do you think we'll need one sometime in the middle of the month, Dr. McKinney?
I don't believe so. HR is doing a great job pushing candidates to you as soon as possible.
Okay, well, let me know if that changes.
Okay, the motion to approve the personnel recommendations, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, welcome to our new staff, and we are excited to have you on board. Okay, the next item on our agenda Our liaison reports, I don't have any liaison reports. Anybody else?
I don't, but I'm happy to see our student representatives back again, and you missed out of August, but that's okay. You're here, and welcome back, and I'm sure in September you'll give us what's going on in the schools in North and South. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Timmons. The next item I have on my agenda is unfinished business. We had received, oh gosh, I think I received like 26 emails regarding the GPA task force, GPA and class rank task force. And in our packets is a memo from Dr. McKinney. I had originally sent an email back to all of those people thinking that it would need to go one way, and then Dr. McKinney has sent us a memo advising us that we had made a previous motion regarding this task force that didn't get completed because of COVID. Dr. McKinney, did you wish to speak to it, or did you wish me simply to motion as we discussed?
The memo just describes, due to COVID, the task force was only able to meet 4 times. They're close to being able to compile a final report and make some recommendations. I spoke to the high school principals, so if we were allowed to reconvene that group, we could have a report and the recommendations to the board no later than October 29th.
Oh, wow, okay. So I move that the National Board of Education amend the motion made on 4/8/19 to allow the GPA task force to reconvene to complete any and all necessary work, as well as compile a final report. A final report of findings and recommendations will be submitted to the National Board of Education no later than October 29th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. And just to speak to it really quickly, this was something that our previous board rep, Haley Sweeney, had spoken about back when she was a board rep, and then our next student board rep, Josh Gow from South, kind of picked up her torch and really ran with it. He was instrumental in forming the task force and getting a lot of the research done. So I was really pleased to hear that Dr. McKinney was able to access that research, and that he's willing to get the task force together again, albeit with new students, but hopefully the same staff to pick that up and let us know what they have to say. Did anyone else want to speak to the motion? Mr. Guarino?
I guess I have a couple of questions. You just actually answered it. So students are going to be part of the new, and I hope that outreach goes that, so this is important to some of the students. We had a lot of emails, so I hope those students get the message that this is going to reconvene, and they can at least put their 2 cents in either way, how they feel. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Brown, did you wish to speak?
I would like to speak to this motion if I could.
You would like to what?
I would like to speak to the motion.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just like to mention on the record that this was something that was brought up in earnest at the end of last meeting, and then we mentioned, actually you'd mentioned, that we thought it should go through committee, which I actually do think is the appropriate place to finish this discussion. I had asked Dr. McKinney to put this on the August agenda, so I was quite surprised to find it on this evening's agenda when it came out. I'm glad that the work has been started. I think it's very important work, and I think they were very close, the impression I got from previous student rep, Mr. Gow, that they were quite close on already having a prepared recommendation for the board. I'm a little bit concerned with the timeline of not having this completed until the end of October, that if there's something that needs to be edited for this school year, that we won't be able to move forward to help this class if there's something that we need to adjust for policy. Furthermore, if we were to keep the traditional model for this year, the graduating class of 2022, I'm a little concerned that there would be are we going to make it any edits for next school year, or would it be for the incoming classes, incoming freshmen, incoming sophomores, incoming juniors, incoming freshmen in 2022? That's why I think there's a lot of this particular discussion that I think would have been most appropriate in the curriculum committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Parker or Dr. McKinney, I'm just curious, do you know if that information would be included in the recommendations from the task force about, not only, would they recommend making a change, yes or no, but also would they recommend a timeline for rolling out a change?
So the board motion outlines the committee, who's on it, and the recommendations and the timeline. Certainly COVID threw a curveball at us, but I'm happy to bring an update back once the group is reconstituted and I have an opportunity to meet everyone and review the minutes. I think in earnest, it's fair to bring everybody back around the table, replace some seats of folks that have left, and then see where we are, and I'm happy to bring an update. But to accelerate it or to change the motion is certainly the board's purview, but the work has already been done, and in honor to the group that has done the work, I'd like the opportunity to meet with them and discuss it before changing anything further. And lastly, our efforts have been focused on other things right now aside from this, so I'm not saying this isn't important, but the gift of time would certainly be helpful.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. McKinney. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. On the motion to allow the task force to reconvene and complete their work, go ahead.
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Giglio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, great. I look forward to hearing from them. And just one more question, Dr. McKinney. The previous task force had students on it. If students are interested in this task force at all, who should they contact?
Anthony Parker, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary.
Okay.
Point of information.
Hold on, Mr. Parker was speaking, and then I'll recognize you, Ms. Brown.
Yes, folks can email me. He knows this is near and dear to my heart, and so I look forward to reading the work that was already been done. And if we don't have to reinvent the wheel, let's not. And so email Anthony Parker.
Okay. That's aparker@nashua.edu. Just read. No, Parker A. Oh, I almost messed it up. Parker.
Feel free to that address.
No. Parker A@nashua.edu. All right, Ms. Brown, go ahead.
Thank you. Since the motion is passed, do we expect the recommendation to come through committee, or do we expect it to come to the full board?
The original motion was that it go to the full board. That was the April 8th, 2019 motion. So at this point, I think we have to honor that because we didn't change that part. If at that point the board feels like it needs to be kicked back down to committee, we can certainly do that. So, okay. Hold on, I lost my place. Next, new business, is the 2021-2022 school year plan. Go ahead, Dr. McKinney. I'm going to listen and take notes.
Okay. Thank you. So the goal of this plan is to do two things, to bring kids back safely to in-person learning. This is a state template that is designed to be filed at the state so we can receive ESSER funds. So I apologize for the format. It's not supposed to be all-inclusive, it's more an outline. But with many documents that are shared with us, they're not always the most intuitive. The plan is designed, it's been revised before. One of the federal regulatory requirements is that we have public input, which you've done tonight. And it's also Groundhog Day. It's a challenging time in that we're back to school, there's varying guidance, there's varying many things happening. I was on a call with the state at the end of July. I attended the Board of Health call. We have an upcoming call with DHHS on Wednesday where they're supposed to give additional back to school guidance. So there's a lot here for the board to consider. But in the end, I'd ask for your assistance in meeting the goal of bringing kids back to in-person instruction safely. It's what we do very well. So just looking at page 2, you have a summary document, some important dates from last year. The decision around remote and synchronous learning, around 17% of the district ended with remote learning. And it's just a challenge for us to be able to do both at the same time. Down the road, I think we'll be able to support an option for remote learning, but right now we're concentrating on in-person learning. That's been our focus for staffing and hiring, and our teachers did a great job last year doing hybrid and double duty, but it's just not sustainable. That model is exhausting for all of us. I'm just going to skip to another part here. The piece around physical distancing, I apologize, it's probably poorly written, but it should be written, it'll be utilized to the extent possible with the goal of getting to 3 feet. But with some of our class sizes, you know, you may see 2 3/4, 2.5, but we certainly want to get to 3 feet. Just some of our larger classes that we have. So just want to make that aware to the board. Based on the recommendation from Public Health, we are starting Safer at School screening and testing, initially at the high school level. Their recommendation is to do that. It's a voluntary program. It doesn't cost the district anything. It's free to us from the state. It's one of the pockets we had challenges last year with the high school students at athletics. So we want to keep them in school. We want to keep them on the soccer field. But it's an opt-in program. So we're working on setting that up. It will take some time, and once it's set up and it's working well, the plan would be to continue it down into the middle and the elementary levels. We've selected a provider. The state did some of the screening for those, and we're meeting with them this week. So we'll be meeting with our high school principals, the director of athletics, our COVID team, and making that available. I would also ask the board to, the piece around parent volunteers. We rely greatly on those, but I would ask that there be a consideration that volunteers be permitted when community transmission is minimal. Just to the comfort, we want to protect in-person instruction and limit the traffic coming and going within and out of the building. So some of the other requirements are that we have to post it online, make it available in other languages and alternative formats. I spoke to the physical distancing. We're going to definitely encourage hand washing, cleaning the facilities like we did before. If I could just speak to contact tracing. The guidance now is no longer in public settings. So the district will continue to notify families as much as we can. I think we were very communicative at the end of last year. The Safer at School screening will do a lot of the contact tracing and be partnering with us. But the guidance has changed right now to self-monitor for 14 days. There's no quarantine. So some of that is definitely a moving target. So I do anticipate the next call with the state, some of that guidance may change. But I do intend to keep what we did last year in terms of letting people know when things are happening in the schools and the building. I think it's important for the parents, the teachers, and everybody to know that they're safe. Vaccinations, we have a clinic coming up here at North. And I think those are the major things included in the plan. It's not just about one piece or another. the calls that we've been on talks about the 9 major preventative strategies, everything from vaccination to ventilation. So we're trying to do all those. Lastly, I would ask the board to consider, I included a draft around a decision-making matrix that has been used in a couple of districts that may be helpful. As I spoke with some folks, I think the board, it would be helpful if you made guidance that included, if you're making a decision on masks in the school buildings, so that would encompass before and after school activities. It would encompass athletics. Right now, the guidance around transportation, you can see that's written here on the matrix. But in speaking to the transportation company, drivers will be masked. They may lower their masks when they're driving, just for the safety of the students while they're driving the vehicle. But they definitely have to wear the mask when students are entering and leaving the bus. So lastly, the only other feedback around the matrix relative to masks, I did share this with DPH here, and their guidance was, to have a timepiece with it. So if we were to tick into substantial, after 7 days, make the mask mandatory or required, and not wait the 14 days. Like Bobby Bagley said, we've been going up and down, in and out of moderate, so 7 consecutive days would mean switching right over, but that's a recommendation from them. So with that, that's an overview of the outline. Again, I apologize, it's not all-encompassing. District leadership, we've looked at plans that went up to 50 to 75 pages. We thought less was more, and we went to 4 pages, but happy to answer questions and certainly communicate to the district what's included in the plan and the board's expectations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. McKinney. I noticed on page 3 of the plan, number 2A, you mentioned about physical distancing, that your goal is to get that in there even though it says no. But number 2A says the Nashua School District will continue to follow the public health guidelines from the Department of Public Health and Community Services. So I guess my question is, does that cover what Ms. Bagley had recommended this evening regarding wearing of masks indoors?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the 2021-2022 Safe Return to School Plan for the Nashua School District with the following changes. 1, volunteers will only be allowed when community transmission is minimal. And 2, that masks will be required for all students and staff while inside school buildings and on the bus.
Can you tell me all grades, K to 12?
K to 12. All students, all staff. Okay. Mr. Guarino?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. I assume that everyone.
I moved to.
Wait, Miss Brown, hold on one second. I assume that everyone has something to say. So I'm going to do what we did frequently when we were on our Zoom calls, because we have someone on the phone. It can be difficult to hear everybody, and go around the circle. Okay? And this time I'm going to start with Ms. Timmons, because I always look right and I'm going to look left. Yep.
My decision is based on caution, and I believe that I'm going to err on the side of safety. Bottom line.
Okay. Ms. Bishop, are you ready, or are you still copying things down?
I actually have nothing to say.
Oh, okay. Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, I have quite a bit to say here. First of all, I know we had 2 doctors and a nurse in here tonight.
I understand what Dr. Dunnett said. I believe I sat with her mother on the board back when, Yvonne Dunnett. And I understand what she's saying. I also understand what all the parents are saying here. And I want to, if I can pull this up, I don't know if I'll be able to play it in here. It's another doctor that we got. Nope, that's not it. I'm trying to think how to say this and be nice about this, I guess. No matter what I say to the members of this board, I'm always wrong. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch that fake stuff anymore because I don't want to listen to the narrative anymore. I'm tired of listening to it, like a lot of parents in this audience is. And this isn't even all the parents that are here tonight. These aren't our children. We take care of them in the school while they're in the school. We impress upon the administration and the teachers to take good care of our students, and they do take good care of them. We voted last year at the end of the year, we finally got it done at the end of the year to make masks optional. There is no reason in the world why masks cannot continue to be optional, to bring our kids back to school. I have gone through research after research because I'm a dummy here, and I listen to fake news. Children's Health Defense, that's a horrible organization, I guess. I'm going to be scolded. Notice for employers, universities, and other institutions mandating COVID-19 vaccines. People are getting sick from the vaccines now, but we'll blame it on every unvaccinated person out there because they are the worst person out there. Florida governor blocks school mask mandate, says parents can choose. You know what the problem is? Our legislature up there, they don't have the guts to mandate and do these things that need to be done to give parents back their rights. Okay? The governor of Florida, I know he's a horrible person because he's a conservative. But he's saying you can't wear masks. Oh yeah, the numbers are going up. We can't even test for the variant. No one's even talking about these tests. But I'm stupid. I'll admit I'm stupid. Medical Journal warns about masks potentially devastating consequences. We heard about a doctor and a nurse, what they can do. We're hearing parents are talking about the kids, their psyche. And I remember last February when I was in Florida and I talked about suicide. Mrs. Johnson, you can't talk about suicide. Yes, you can. Because if we don't start talking about this, and these children come home from school, and mentally they have anxiety and panic attacks because we keep putting them in masks because they can't see their friends' faces, they can't see the teachers' faces. What service have we done for them? Now we have more problems. Now we have a program called social emotional learning here. What good is it going to do? Here, potential journal warns about masks, potential devastation. I'm stupid here. CDC and Mr. Sayer talked about the N95 masks. You can't put them on children. They're not safe. Surgical masks talks about they should be changed or thrown out every 20 to 30 minutes in a non-sterile environment. Well, let's talk about that. I was forced to put a mask on Thursday night to go in. I'm glad you're filming me back there. I'm glad. I know you're going to put me on Facebook. I was forced to put a mask on, and I'm going to tell you, that mask was not even in a bag that it comes in. It was sitting out. How do I know if that was sterile, that mask, or not? That mask was sitting on a table, but I was told to put it on, and I got sick from the mask because I can't breathe with them on. Cloth masks do not filter anything. As you exhale, you are riding your lung of contaminant and carbon dioxide. Cloth masks trap the carbon dioxide the best. It actually risks your health rather than protect it. This is from the CDC. So zoom in on it, babes. Zoom in on it. CDC. Written in 30 minutes. Dry cough, enhanced allergies, sore throat, and all symptoms of micromold in your mask. CDC. So we're talking CDC now. So I'm not lying here. I did my homework. So here's another one. Masking children, tragic and unscientific damaging. Here we go. So I did all this work today to be at this meeting because I'm not going to support masking kids again. I'm going to support the options. And then if the numbers go up, we'll sit back here and we'll talk about it again. But at this point in time, give these kids a chance to go back and be kind of normal in school, because they haven't had a chance a whole year. They've been remote. And then we put them back to school with a mask. And what was it, 2 to 3 weeks before school was over with? We took the masks off because it was hot. Hopefully, it's going to be nice weather for them to go back to school. Maybe this rain will be gone. And if it's hot again, we're going to keep them in masks in a classroom and outside. I will not support. And one last thing in Florida, and I'm suggesting everybody does this in New Hampshire, the Parents' Bill of Rights would be a huge win for Florida families. And this is what happened. Florida has a Bill of Rights for parents. And this protects parents and their children. I don't have kids in the school. I raised my kids through the system. I got 3 small grandchildren, and I don't want to ever see them in masks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. I guess I have a comment, a question, and then a comment. So I recognize the additional cost to the district to provide remote learning for those students who want it, but it seems to me like we actually should be providing that. We were able to do it next year. What is the reasoning that we're not able to find a way to accommodate those students?
The decision was to focus on in-person instruction and staff the district accordingly. It would mean dedicating some of our current staff to remote learning, which we couldn't do, and we're looking a year from now to have a remote option that looks a little different and doesn't take away from our existing staff. In the end, we believe we're very effective with in-person learning, and our focus since the end of June into July has been on that sole focus. Thank you.
So if a student or a family has a reason that they would need to be remote, would they have to choose homeschool or VLAX, or what would their option be?
VLAX is certainly an option. The other option is that we're looking into partnering with the state around some learning pieces, but it does require in-person instruction. So most likely they're looking at homeschooling or VLAX.
If someone wanted to discuss that, who should they contact?
Student Services, Bob Chopo's office.
Okay, so just the 966-1000 number is best?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Thank you. So my next question is actually for, I'm glad that our primary focus is on in-person learning. I think it's been, I'm glad for that. However, inevitably, we're going to have some kids that need to quarantine for some reason or another. So what is the expectation for those students under those circumstances now that we're not providing synchronous learning?
So we're working on providing guidance for students that would be out of school. We're still expecting students and staff to self-screen and monitor, but the current guidance from the state is there's no quarantine. They're asked to self-monitor for 14 days, particularly for unvaccinated and household contacts, sibling, and parents. So we will provide learning support. It just won't be synchronous or in person. We're looking to another resource that might be able to provide virtual tutoring for kids. More information about that will be forthcoming.
And are you aware, have you taken into account our current district policies regarding teachers and giving students work while they are out at home or out of class? I think, and I could be mistaken on this, there's not a requirement for teachers to provide students that are home for a few-day period unless it's in multiple days. But it seems like a way that students could get behind very quickly.
Yes, I'm aware of the current guidance in the student handbooks, but certainly that can be amended during the pandemic.
Okay. For the board, I think that's something that we should probably prioritize to err on the side of caution so that we can make sure kids are not slipping further behind. So let's see, my next thing here, let me look at my notes, I apologize. So I'm glad that there is a plan. I think it does still lack specificity, but it's better than nothing. And I think that the way the motion is currently worded, it actually does not leave any room for even the masking matrix. It just says that students, I think it was what Rick said, that the students are going to wear masks no matter what, which means that we would have to then rescind the mask mandate later in the school year. There's nothing applying to that matrix that we were provided. Is that correct?
I can answer that. Yes, the way that the motion is currently worded, it does not say that we should, following the mask wearing decision matrix draft that was included.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. I move to divide the motion.
Okay. What would you like divided?
I would like to divide the mask edit out of the acceptance of the safety plan on safety return.
Okay, so you would like it to be two motions. One is to approve the safety plan, approve the safe return to school plan with the change that volunteers only be allowed when community transmission is minimal. And then make it...
Actually, if possible, I'd like to divide it into three motions, so and make this vote on separate motions. Thank you.
Dr. McKinney?
Not to make it more complicated, I would just ask that the four changes be included in all the motions. So we're looking at the physical distancing, maximizing distance to the extent possible, with the ideal to get to 3 feet.
Oh, that's a change too?
The parent volunteer one.
Hold on, I missed the 3 feet one. Okay. Go ahead. So change one is to maximize physical distancing whenever possible.
Then possible, the goal of getting to 3 feet of distance.
Okay.
3 feet of separation.
Is anybody who made the original motion accepting this as a friendly amendment, or do we need to rewrite the whole thing?
I'm not accepting it.
The maximizing of physical distance in the original motion?
I'm not, I thought your question was to split it?
No. Dr. McKinney pointed out that in the original motion, I didn't write maximize physical distancing to the extent possible. Are you accepting that as a friendly amendment to the original motion, or would you like to have us start over?
That in the plan already?
It's poorly worded.
So was the motion to accept the plan, but to add that we do universal masking? What was the original motion?
The motion was to approve the plan.
Right.
Add that volunteers are allowed only when transmission is minimal, require masks. But the third thing, the one that I missed when writing down the motion, was Dr. McKinney's friendly request that we add maximize physical distancing to the extent possible.
Okay, so that wasn't, I thought that was in the original plan, but it's not, okay.
Yep, so that's what I thought as well.
Okay, so I'll accept that.
Okay, Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Okay, and then Dr. McKinney, what was the last thing? Did you lose it? It's too much. I love drafts.
I believe sorry.
I said, just wordsmithing at the board meeting just kills me.
It's the piece around contact tracing, and this could be fluid, but it's no longer in public settings, but the district will provide classroom notifications. So we will continue to be communicative My fear is that Wednesday we go on this call, they're going to change things, and we'll be back to this again, but there's nothing we can do about that at this time.
So 2E on page 3 says contact tracing in combination with isolation in collaboration with the state and local health departments. It says no, but instead of saying no, it should say classroom notification will occur.
District notifications will occur on a regular basis,
District notifications.
which is a better option than they gave us on the form, which was somewhat, which is not very helpful.
Isn't that something that public health does? Okay, that the state contract agency does? Okay, so that would be, so now that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and 4 is 2E. She'll say contact tracing. Okay. Are you guys okay with adding that one to yours as well? Yeah, okay. Also, Ms. Timmons? Okay.
So could you read the motion that we're going to be voting on now?
Well,
the amended kind of motion, the split of it?
Yeah, so the original motion with the friendly stuff that Dr. McKinney talked about is now. The motion is to approve the 2021-2022 Safe Return to School Plan with the following changes. 1, maximize physical distancing to the extent possible. 2, volunteers will only be allowed when community transmission is minimal. 3, masks will be required for all students and staff inside school buildings and on the bus. And 4, contact tracing district notifications will occur on a regular basis. No, district notifications of contact tracing will occur on a regular basis. That makes more sense. Okay, so that is now the motion. Ms. Brown made a motion to split this motion, and so if Ms. Brown still wants to do that, we need to know where she wants to split it.
I would like to keep my motion to split the motion. I would like to divide the motion to, for the itemized changes.
Do you want to just take out the?
I guess just vote on them separate, if possible. Yes, right, to vote on the items separately. Specifically, the mask versus the plan, not accepting, not addressing the mask matrix and leaving the wording as is. I think that's important to divide out.
Okay.
So probably the easiest way to do this, however, so we've added all these amendments, would be just to vote individually on the amendments. So I guess my motion is to divide the motion into the amendments.
The what?
There are amendments, but changes. So you would like to, your motion is to split the motion such that we vote individually on each change in the original motion.
Can I ask a question of her?
That's weird. I'm thinking about it, but go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Ms. Brown, do you want to just remove the masks from this motion and we'll vote on the masks separately and we vote on everything else that Dr. McKinney is asking, and we'll make a motion as to whether or not masks will become optional in schools? Would that work?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. That would probably be the cleanest way to do it.
All right, so the motion then would be to split the motion such that the change number 3, masks, would be taken out and voted on separately.
Right, take that out, and we vote on that separately.
Are you going to second that, Ms. Johnson?
I'll second it, as long as we remove the mask from this motion.
Okay, so Ms. Brown is saying that we split the motion such that we vote on masks separately.
Can I ask a question? Actually, Ms. Brown prompted me to think of something when she was talking about if we had a plan for getting the students work if they needed to go home to quarantine. Where do we stand on the sub situation? If we need to send teachers home?
I don't want to know right now. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. McKinney.
The district is looking into two different options to help support substitute teaching. One is a partnership with a higher ed institution, and then the other is a staffing agency. We are working on it. Happy to give an update later this month once those two things are finalized. We're reviewing contracts, but we do hope to work on that. I've heard the same story for the 7 years I've been here, so hopefully we can come up with a happy solution.
Are we still paying the higher rate?
For the permanent building subs, yes.
Okay.
And if we run into situations that we've run into before where we have to kind of combine classes because we don't have the subs, are we able to socially distance for those classes that we don't have the teachers for? Like, would we still be able to put them all in the auditorium or put them all in the cafeteria if we have to combine classes?
So you're saying proctor a larger group of students in the cafeteria? Yes, we could do that again.
And we can do social distance in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Wasn't planning on this level of detail of questioning tonight, but happy to answer the question.
Well, I didn't realize we were going to talk about sending kids work home, and I was like, oh, right, kids can be absent, so can teachers. We should accommodate for everyone.
Okay.
I've got one quick question for Dr. McKinney.
Yeah.
Are we still having petitions between kids at their desks? Or is that going to be coming down?
So again, the physical distancing is with the goal to get to 3 feet. You know, if there are students or teachers who want those, I think we have plenty of those materials that we can provide to the schools.
But if they don't want them, we don't have to put them up as long as they're 3 feet distancing?
3 feet is the guidance right now, so.
Okay, thank you.
Unless the board decides to do something differently. I don't recall what the last motion was around that or what was in the final plan. I'd have to go back and look. Sorry.
I don't believe we ever made a specific motion around physical distancing. We've simply been following the guidelines of public health. Okay, hold on, Mr. Guarino. I'm trying to think out loud.
We have to vote on Jesse's.
I believe we have to vote on Ms. Brown's motion to split the motion before we do anything else. Does anyone have a comment on discussion of Ms. Brown's motion to split the motion? Woo.
No means no split, right? A no vote means no split.
Yes, a no vote keeps the original motion intact. A yes vote takes out the masks part of the motion. And so then we would be agreeing to vote on the changes that Dr. McKinney has asked for. And then we would vote on masks afterwards.
Well, I thought mask was part of the motion, so if we don't split it, then it becomes part of the motion.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So a yes vote takes masks out of the
Okay.
question. A no vote keeps masks in that one motion,
Okay, I got it.
which is a long, unwieldy motion, but, okay. Anyone else have a question or comment on Ms. Brown's motion? Okay, with that, Ms. Bishop, can you please call the roll on Ms. Brown's motion to split the motion to take masks out and vote on that separately?
Ms. Bishop votes no. Ms. Gilio?
No.
Ms. Raymond?
No.
Ms. Oden?
No.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
No.
Ms. Seem is absent. Ms. Timmons?
No.
Okay, motion fails.
Okay, thank you. So we're back to the original motion with the friendly amendments, which is the motion to approve the 2021-2022 Safe Return to School Plan with the following changes. 1, maximize physical distancing to the extent possible. 2, volunteers allowed when community transmission is minimal. 3, masks required for all students and staff inside school buildings and on the bus. And 4, change item 2E to say, instead of no, district notifications of contact tracing will occur on a regular basis. And just as an aside, we are required under the guidelines to review this motion every 60 days. Dr. McKinney, not the motion, review the plan
Every 6 months.
every 6 months. I thought it was much, much more often than that.
By federal regulations, it's 6 months. I would ask the board to consider having this as an ongoing agenda item so we could report out to the board on how things are going with reopening.
Okay. Since you and I set the agenda, I think we can make that happen.
I'd like to make a motion to table this for another 2 weeks and see if Dr. McKinney can come up with a better plan to reopen. So this way, maybe our students can get back into school with no masks.
Point of order, you were not given the floor to make a motion. You have to be given the floor. I didn't see the chair recognize you.
I raised my hand and I just asked.
Yeah, I mean.
She looked at me.
I did look at her. It's not ideal because I didn't get a chance to say Ms. Johnson, but is there a second for Ms. Johnson's motion? I feel like in the spirit of camaraderie and, we're coworkers, we're colleagues, I feel like in that spirit, we should just recognize Ms. Johnson's motion. So does someone have a second for Ms. Johnson's motion?
I second.
Okay, so the motion by Ms. Johnson is to table the motion, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, on the plan for 2 weeks in the hope that Dr. McKinney will come up with a better plan. That, I don't know.
And I just think it's very unfair.
Okay.
To these kids to go back to school with masks on. We sit around here making decisions for them, and I'm watching the faces of the parents.
Point of order, is there discussion on this?
Oh, excuse me, I'll shut up right now, I'm done.
I'm just asking the chair if we have discussion when you table a motion, or is it just go to a vote?
No.
No discussion. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, though. Ms. Brown seconded it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Ms. Oden, there isn't discussion on tabling.
There is none?
I have feelings about some of the Roberts rules, but let's.
Okay, can we vote? Yes, I was writing this
I
down.
was just giving Ms. Bishop an opportunity to write it down because it's not in the book. So she has to write it all from scratch.
Okay. So on the motion to table, Ms. Bishop votes no. Ms. Gilio?
No.
Ms. Raymond?
No.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
No.
Ms. Timmons?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, so back to where we were. Allowing everyone a chance to speak, it was Mr. Guarino's turn to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not going to, a lot has been said tonight in favor or against masks. I'm not going to add to that. But I think that I'm not going to prolong this discussion, but I just wanted to say something about freedom. With freedom comes responsibility, and I think a lot of other people who spoke here said it more eloquently. It means taking responsibility for your actions, and I think we have to protect the community. So I'm going to vote yes, and as I originally saw this plan, I was a little disappointed because I didn't think there was enough protection in there, but I do see that administration has their matrix, and we are at substantial, according to what Ms. Bagley said. So, and we're going to be reviewing it every month. So I do want to thank administration. A lot goes into this, but there's a lot to be said on either side. So I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Gilio?
I just got one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say this, but I just want everybody on this board to know that there's nothing personal the way I vote here against anyone on this board, and I respect everyone on this board, and I think everyone here is capable of understanding the facts. They just have different opinions of it. So I don't think anyone is stupid or anything like that. I respect everybody on this board. I just want everyone to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino.
Everything that I would have said has already been said, so I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to vote on the motion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gilio. Ms. Oden?
Thank you. I just want to thank all the people that spoke, whether you were for masks or against masks. You were very respectful. You made very valid points. This is probably the toughest decision I've ever had to make. There's no winners. There are no winners. I would like to ask Mr. McKinney, Dr. McKinney, if he had given any thoughts to, often we've said one shoe doesn't fit all. If we thought anything about the high school being a little bit different because those students had an opportunity to get vaccinated if they wanted to. Is there any way we could give the high school students and the option of having masks or not? Seeing where they have the opportunity to be vaccinated, our elementary and middle school students don't have that option.
That is an option for the board to consider, but you heard from Ms. Bagley on the numbers and the vaccination rates, and the recommendations for other organizations, including the state, the CDC. So I would continue with the recommendation that the board has put forth for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. I do want to say something on this. Having kids in the district, one who's vaccinated, one who's not, because she's not old enough to be. We're not back to normal. Everybody wants us to be back to normal, but we're just not. I wish we were. I had really hoped to this summer when we started summer school and we were off in such a great place. But our numbers have changed. We had a 62% increase in cases in the last 3 weeks. We're not going in the right direction. And for me, I read the charter, and I've said it before. Section 62 charges us to protect the public health and safety of our city's children. This is something I take very seriously. The board received a letter from 21 different doctors who service our children, and every single one of them said, please, please, please have everyone wear masks to protect everybody else. I want the kids back in school full time. I think the district did an amazing job last year with hybrid and with remote, but it's not best for our kids. It just isn't. Some kids have a real hard time learning remote and hybrid, and I want our kids to be in school. And the only way I can see doing that is by following the guidelines of the medical experts and having masks. The pandemic isn't going to be over until enough people get vaccinated and wear masks so that we get to the numbers needed. It's not political, it's just the reality of our situation. It's unfortunate. None of us asked to be in a global pandemic. Our kids certainly didn't ask for this. And I hope that we can see the other side of it quickly. Somebody said that the rest of the world saw Delta come and go quickly. And I really hope that happens to us. So I think that the best thing to do is to start conservatively and then back it up as soon as possible. I think that's where we're at. But I also just want to say that, part of wearing a mask is teaching each other that we can protect each other and we can put the common good above our personal freedoms. And that's something about citizenship that I hope kids and people learn. And I guess that is political, and I try to not be political, but.
Can you move on if you're not lecturing us? We don't.
Excuse me.
That's not being respectful. You know, let them speak. They did the floor. If you don't want to hear it, leave.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's not yell out from the audience. It is disrespectful. People have another opportunity for public comments. You can come up and tell me whatever you want, and that's fine. But I just want people to. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I just. What Ms. Oden said about this being a difficult decision, I think that's true. And it probably isn't fair to think out loud in front of everybody, so apologies for taking up time on a very late evening. So did anyone else have anything else to say on this? Mr. Dunn?
I would like to make one more comment, but I'll go last. I'll yield my time to whoever raised their hand first.
Go ahead, Ms. Brown, and then we'll recognize the student members.
So, since we aren't able to split the motion, and I will not be supporting the reopening plan with the addition of mandatory masks. And even though it's unlikely that my vote against it will shift the outcome, it's important to the constituents to hear why I can't support it, even with a temporary mask mandate in place, as it's been implied, but that's not how it's written. There's a misconception that the individuals who support parental or personal choice and personal responsibility are all anti-mask, anti-vax, COVID deniers. It's simply not true. It's about the fact that our students, our parents, our employees deserve the right to make those decisions for themselves and their autonomy. They need to make their own healthy choices. Government prohibitions and mandates, like masks, weaken our societal freedom, and long-term, they actually weaken our sense of personal risk assessment, and they erode our decision-making skills. And by taking that choice, mandates strip us in our individuality and our personal identity. After a year of begging for schools to reopen, desperate parents and students and teachers are willing to make compromises in ways that 18 months ago we would have thought were absolute atrocities. And I'm the one that actually made a fear-based decision to make a motion to close schools in Nashua for 2 weeks back in March of 2020. Looking back with the information I had, I'd probably do it again. However, I cannot in good conscience make another compromise that could just keep tipping those scales in a negative direction. The physical, emotional, financial consequences of prohibiting students to attend school are going to be felt for years, if not lifetimes. And for the students who want or need to wear a mask, we need to continue to protect their decisions and their rights too. I still have faith in individuals to make the best choices for themselves and their children. As community leaders, teachers, agencies, we need to continue to educate the community and the students on the best practices for public safety and public health, like things like putting batteries in your smoke detector and protecting yourselves in any way you can. We should provide rapid tests and vaccine access for anyone who wants one. However, we cannot continue to strip individuals of their choices. So for that reason, I'm not going to be able to support the plan this evening, and I respect you all in your own decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Dunn or Ms. Brunel? Yep, go ahead, Ms. Brunel.
I think that after this entire year of being fully remote, I think that I've learned that I really enjoy seeing my peers and my teachers right in front of me, and even though we have masks, I can still see their eyes when they smile, or just the funny comments in classroom, and the whole environment of the classroom just entirely shifts. And I think that we have more, I would rather stay stagnant with these numbers that we have now, or even a decrease in the numbers, rather than see a spike again, because I think we have more to gain in or more to lose than gain by starting off the year with masks, because and thank you everyone for what you've said tonight. I've taken it into consideration, and I really do value your opinions and your perspectives, because that's what makes this community. But I think overall we do have more to lose than gain from wearing masks.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brunel. Not to put you on the spot, Mr. Dunn, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I just think that as of now, it makes sense to pass a plan that seems pretty solid, that has been put forth, and to end the plan solely on the fact that we will be masked at that time, I don't think makes sense. So I think if we start off with masks and we start off in school, which is what everyone wanted, which is what we haven't had for a year. We had that for a little bit and it was great. And I think that if we start off that way and then we can incrementally make decisions on masks further down the line, as we see the numbers progress, we see how the Delta variant is among our younger age groups, I think that is what we should do going forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Okay.
Call the vote.
Yep. As always, we value the words of our student members. Go ahead, Ms. Bishop.
Okay. On the motion to approve the 2021 Safe Return to School Plan with its amendments, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Deem is absent. Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So we have a couple more items on our agenda. It occurred to me that I stole the public comment sign up. So there is a public comments policy page up on the podium. So if you wanted to make comments at the end of our meeting, please just flip that over and write your name and address on the back, and we'll be happy to recognize you at that time. Oh, someone took it?
Oh, I put it away. I cleaned up too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Can we just put it?
No, not that one. There should be another piece of paper. Yeah. No, I just don't have any blank pages I haven't written all over.
I have it right here. Here you go.
She's got it.
Well, I've got the real one, Dottie.
It's fine. No, we don't have a special paper. I wanted to mention it now so that people had time to sign up while we talk about the last couple things. Okay, so we have two more items on the agenda for new business. Oh, I have them out of order. The first one is district goals, which I don't.
It's in here.
Well, I lost mine. So I've seen them. Dr. McKinney, did you wish to speak at all to the district goals? I know that you had given us a copy of it.
Emailed to us.
Yeah.
In the public area.
A couple weeks ago.
Yes, and I think it was omitted in the packet and then emailed to you later and then added to the packet, so it may be out of order in your packets.
Yeah, I printed it out and I don't know where it is. It's probably on my kitchen table, but no, I've seen it. I just don't physically have it in front of me, which is completely irrelevant to everyone else doing what we need to do so that everyone can go home. So I respect that our administrators have been working since like 7 o'clock this morning. So Dr. McKinney, did you wish to speak to the goals?
So the four goals that are included on that sheet are an effort to combine the reopening plan, application of for ESSER funds, and the strategic plan so that they're all aligned into one document. And the four goals that are on there are student achievement, social emotional learning for everyone, family engagement, and health and safety. So what you have there is an outline of some of those things. They certainly tie into those three documents that I spoke of, but I just wanted to share with the board that it's kind of a summary document that allows us to align to 2 to 3 other things that we're doing at the same time to make it a little easier for everyone. So.
All right, so thank you, Dr. McKinney. I especially appreciate the fact that you have student achievement in there. I very much want to get back to meetings where we're talking about how our kids are doing, how we can help them improve, what teachers and administrators and staff need from us to help kids do better. not do better, learn and have the tools that they need to learn where they're at. I am looking for a motion to approve the district goals for 2021, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
I'll let Miss Gilio have it.
Gilio.
I'm trying to be fast.
Miss Johnson's even faster. She got to that second before he even said, hey.
Like Speedy Gonzalez here. Like the Roadrunner, actually.
Okay. Did anyone else want to speak on the district goals? No? Okay.
No, I just want to thank Dr. McKinney. I think he hit on a lot of things that we should be working on. So thank you. I thought it was a very good list for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Brown, did you want to speak to the district goals?
Yeah, mine is more question-based. So I like the broad scope goals, and I like some of these specific items. However, there's a lot of detail in this that quite honestly, I'm concerned with whether it's going to come in front of the board or not. Are these going to be things that are happening exclusively internally, or are we going to have a say over how things are handled or conversations brought before us or through committees this year? Because there's a lot of things that seem like systemic change in this document that don't necessarily align with the strategic plan.
So any work that's being done in the district goals would be in line with the strategic plan and district policy? Could you give a specific example that you're referring to?
So as far like SEL workshops, PD, the steering committees, are these just, like I said, this seems like a broad scope document, and expand the summer programming. Is that something that aligns with ours? There's a lot of small details in here. It seems like a little bit of a roadmap, but it also seems like an enormous undertaking with a lot of other things that are up in the air in the district right now.
Yes, we're doing a lot right now. Expanding summer programs will definitely become before the board. Steering committees have been used in the past and continue to run by administration. So if it's helpful to the board, I can give regular updates on progress with district goals and speak to some of the nuances that are in there. The larger document that we have does speak to some of those things, so I'm happy to work with the board and the assistant superintendents and bring those either through committee or directly to the full board.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McKinney. Are you all set, Ms. Brown?
I'm fine, thank you. I probably will be voting no on this particular document, just because I do feel like it needs a little bit more discussion on some of the other things. Although I'm not quite sure which committee it should go to. It seems like there's about all the committees are included in this particular document. So I'm just hoping that as we move forward with this, that we are getting regular updates about changes that are happening systemically. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, great.
Call the vote?
Yes, please.
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Seam is absent. Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. I just realized that I've been tallying everything up out of 9 instead of out of 8 because...
It's okay. My notes are right.
Good. Okay. Excellent. The next item on the agenda is, oh, I just grabbed it and moved it, is regarding middle school instruction. Mr. Parker and Dr. McKinney, did you need a motion on this, or is this informational? Because
Informational.
Okay.
for
And
the
I think
most
it's a slight departure from our current,
We're fully heterogeneous this past year.
yeah.
And so there was an initial request to remain that way this year, but we thought we should ease into that with everybody coming back. Some people did want the levels to remain, and so we thought, this all started with the principals coming to me and saying, we don't feel we can accurately place these kids right from the beginning of the year, given the last year, year and a half.
Okay.
Right? So that seemed to make sense to me. So a period where we get to know them socially, their learning styles, for a period of time, for a month, the first month, and then the feeling was they could be more accurately placed in the proper levels, where they could be challenged, not overwhelmed, because they're not in the right level to meet their learning styles. So.
Okay, that sounds highly logical. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? Okay, I would just ask that, should you want to make this last longer than what is referred to in this memo, that you bring it to the policy committee, because policy 2230 requires leveling at the middle school, and so if we were to change that on an extended basis, that would be a fun discussion at the policy committee.
Right, so we are aware of that, and I'll just ask that we do this for the 6th grade, that transitional entrance, and so the request is to do it for this year, for all 3 grades, and let's see how it goes. Right.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, now I'm confused. It's 1 month, yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I have no questions. Okay, so I don't have...
I'm sorry, Heather, may I also have a clarifying question?
Sure.
What is the typical number of students you have shift in those grades, like from class to class after they are reassigned to the appropriate instructional level?
What is, I'm sorry, could you say the first part? What is the number of students?
She asked how many students shift from level to level.
I don't
typically.
actually have that information right now. I didn't think about it, but I can get that.
Okay.
I can get that for you.
Great. Ms. Brown?
That's fine. I would be curious to know, moving forward, what your typical shift is, moving those kids, the kids transitioning from 5th grade to 6th grade, and then this year, as if we edit this process, how many kids you have transition during their 7th grade year to a different level, and then during their 8th grade year to a different level, to see if this is something we should do regularly or annually, or how we should proceed going forward. So I would actually find that information valuable. And my final question, and then I'll leave you be, is what is the date that this happens? Is it like October 1st, or what's the deadline for that?
They would start school in the first month. The kids would be reevaluated. All right, and during that first month, so we're looking at, I don't have an exact date here, so we're going to play with that just a little bit, but it's at least a month where we get to know the kids and have a series of assessments, formative and summative, so we just have a better sense of who they are as learners. And the principals were united in approaching me saying they didn't feel comfortable right at the beginning of the year to do it. So, and Matt Posca, actually the principal of Elm, was here earlier, but he had to leave. And he was going to speak to this along with me from the principal's perspective, so.
I'm sorry we outlasted Mr. Posca's evening plans, but I wish him well, and I would love to hear from him at a later date, perhaps with some sort of update. Hold on, Ms. Johnson, I just want to make sure that Ms. Brown is finished. Ms. Brown?
That was my final question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Brown. Go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Now we're all going to get a copy of this?
It's in our thing.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all going to see what Ms. Brown has asked for, so we could see how our students are moving.
Okay.
Yes, I wrote it down. I have what's the typical shift from grade level and levels within the grade.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get the information. Thank you very much.
Yes, and so I have it, and I will canvass all 3 middle schools.
Okay.
To see if there are any similarities or differences.
What's it? Interesting. Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding the plan for opening for the middle schools? Okay, great. So then,
Vote on it? Or is it part of the reopening plan that we already voted on?
I don't think it needs a motion because this is just the principals advising us of their best practices for coming back after being in a pandemic situation for a year.
So that we just wanted to make you aware of what we were wanting to do, what we were basing it on. So this will go out to parents, guardians, and students.
Okay. And I sincerely appreciate that because it's important that we all be aware of what's going on in the middle schools, well, all the schools, but in the middle schools in this particular instance, and the why. Because we're all here to learn, and we learn from our administrators and especially our principals. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I'd like to go to public comment period number 2. Ms. Oden, did anyone sign up on your piece of paper? Thank you for having a blank piece of paper. So I need to do better at bringing pieces of paper. I just write really tiny on my agenda.
Get your steps in today, Dottie.
Huh? So you're getting your steps in.
I got my exercise in already.
Okay. We have 2 people. Ray Newman, please.
Hi, my name is, is that on?
Yes. I think so. It sounds like it.
Is the light on?
Yeah, the light's on. I think it's working. I'd just like to, my name is Ray Newman. I live at 25 Charlotte Avenue. That's in Ward 2, and I'm also a state rep for that ward. I would just like to commend the people on this board, all of whom I respect and appreciate, for the way this meeting tonight turned out. I've been at the previous couple of meetings, and they were a little bit more tumultuous. But tonight, this organization worked close to, I'd say, almost perfectly. I mean, the people got to voice their opinions on both sides of the issue. It's an emotional issue. I was impressed by arguments on both sides. And the way you ran this thing tonight, in accordance with the rules, I think especially the way that you did the 3-minute timer that was sort of self-enforcing worked very well, because people heard the little machine go off and they closed up their comments and whatnot. And in the 3 years that I've been up at the State House, I've been through committee meetings. I'm on the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, and we deal with guns, and that's an emotional issue. And our public hearings, when issues about guns come up, usually last from 7 in the morning till 6 or 7 at night, because 600 people show up to comment, mostly on both sides. I joked to some people that if I proposed a bill that said, how do you regulate how you fill a grease gun, 600 people would show up because the word gun was in there. And these meetings have been run as well as any public meetings that I've been to anywhere. And I just want to say that I appreciate everything that you did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Rosemary Torres.
Hi again, Rosemary Torres, 60 Dublin Ave in Nashua. Been quite a night, and I can only imagine from you guys' end. I didn't say it earlier, but you know, I'll take a chance now to say it. I do appreciate everything that you guys have to take into consideration for making your decisions. Obviously, it's, you know, many of you don't take it lightly, And I do appreciate the fact that tonight the public comments was opened up to listen to everybody. That actually did speak volumes to me, at the very least. I am a little bit disappointed, but not surprised at how the voting with the masks went. I think that maybe it was done a little bit prematurely, and I would have wanted to see that. Let's revisit it in 2 weeks. If I remember correctly, I don't believe Ms. Bagley said that we were in a substantial, she did?
Yeah, she did.
When? Because I thought I heard her say 53 cases, which would only make it moderate.
So, yeah, she said that anything over 100 cases per 100,000 cases is substantial. And so Nashua was at 107 last week. It's at 117 this week. So it's just, we're just in the substantial. We're not like significantly super red like we were last, November.
So what was the 53 cases in reference to?
Yeah, I didn't write down 53 cases.
She said it was 105 new cases and then 53 active cases. She did say that.
Yeah. 58,
So she said that you could find that information on
Public health website.
the public health website, but the state one, I wrote it down. Oh, COVID19nh.gov. And it's updated at like 5 o'clock each day.
In the morning?
At the evening.
At the evening.
It's annoying.
Okay.
But thank you so much to everyone who runs that website. It's a lot of work.
Sorry, we interrupted you.
Sorry, Ms. Torres, that was very disrespectful. Go ahead.
No, it's quite all right. I just, she threw out a lot of numbers, and I was writing them down, and I was listening to everybody that spoke from, parents and staff and professionals that came up here to you all as well. So it was just a little bit confusing to me of the moderate versus the substantial level. Now, I know that this isn't a Q&A session, but I would just like to, I guess, maybe at the next meeting, some of these things could be addressed. So you guys voted tonight to have, all teachers and students and everyone in the building wear masks come the fall. Will that also include everyone in-person meetings here? Because I know that several of you that voted on it are not wearing masks today. So that's something that's stuck in the back of my mind. And I just, wanted to have the clarity as to whether that's going to be extended to every meeting within all the Nashua School district buildings, and also where would the sports with mandatory masks stand as well. So that is all, but again, thank you so much for letting us speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. I will say that the motion was for inside and on the bus. So recess, sports, outside was not included in the motion. So, and there's no recommendation by any of our medical groups that people be made to wear masks outdoors. So recess and sports would not be covered. But riding the bus to an event would be covered. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. All right, so that ends our second public comment period. The only thing we have left is our board members' comments. I think last time I started that way, so this time I'll start this way. Maybe I should start in the middle one day, but
Okay.
go ahead, Ms. Oden.
I guess for me, this vote was very difficult, as it was for everybody. I think some people felt stronger one way than the other. I didn't. But what turned the corner for me I think the kids, and Spencer spoke to it, I think they would have a harder time going back without the masks and then having to put them on than to start the year with them and then they can take them off. That's what I'm hopeful for. And I guess thinking about that made the decision for me. It was a tough decision. The people, all of the parents that spoke were elegant and they had valid concerns. They made great points. So this, as I said, there were no winners. So yeah, I just hope that the rate goes down and we can get those. If they have to go back with them on, then I hope they come off real fast.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Gilio?
I'm done for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to try to be quick, but I agree with Ms. Oden that this was a very difficult decision, and that there actually are some good reasons for kids not to wear masks because it is bothersome and they do cause problems. But I think this COVID variant, we really have to knock it down, and we all have to do this together. And we have to be mindful of other people in the community that are, even children. A lot of parents came here today worried about their children who might be might have autoimmune problems and breathing problems. So we have to do this together. Personal freedoms are personal freedoms, but when it doesn't mean you get left alone. It means we're in this together. That's what democracy means. We're in this together. And we have to take responsibility for each other. And I think we're in extraordinary times. And we want to get out of extraordinary times. We don't want to go back in it. And the trend now, especially with the variant, is we're going back in it. We want to stop those trends. And I think we can revisit this in a month or two. Dr. McKinney said he's going to put it on the agenda every month. I'll be happy to do that if the numbers start coming down like I did before I voted, to make masks optional. If they come down, I'll do that again. But I think right now, I think we did the right thing. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Brown?
No, thank you for everyone's time tonight. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Johnson?
I want to say thank you to the administration for all the hard work that they've done, especially you, Dr. McKinney. I mean, this wasn't easy. I want to say thank you to all the parents that are here. I'd like to thank the Nashua Police Department for being here this evening again, and I will call the chief again and thank him like I've done every time. I just want to comment on a few things. I'm hoping maybe instead of a month, every 2 weeks, we'll come back and visit with the masks. I go back over Ms. Bagley's numbers. They just don't make sense because you're going by not the number of people here and the way they figure it out. It just doesn't make sense. Like I said, I'm not a mathematician. We were told back in March of 2020 that in 2 weeks we'll flatten the curve of deaths and people in the hospital. We are now August of 2021. We flattened the curve, but all we're doing is talking about cases. So I'm all confused. What are we going here? Freedom is about people's rights, their individual rights, and the parents' rights to make decisions for their children and what's best for them. That's how I look at my rights. And we're a republic. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance is to the Republic of the United States of America, so we are a republic. In this pandemic, we lost a lot of our freedoms, more than people really realize. And so I thank everybody tonight for all the hard work. I know we all don't agree on everything at times, but when we come together as a board, we do pretty good, I think. We smile and we laugh, but I hope that we can revisit this maybe before school opens, so maybe there might be a chance that our kids won't have to start with the masks in the school, because when you listen to the parents, the kids have had emotional problems, they have anxiety and panic attacks, and you put the masks on them. My worry is The kids with the disabilities, what's going to happen to them when you tell them they have to go back to school and they have to have those masks back on again? So think about that, and think about that really hard. Because for you and I to say to put a mask on might be nothing. But when you look at those kids that can't do it with disabilities, that's a whole nother subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Bishop?
It is 10 o'clock at night. Just want to point that out. Do you know where your board member is? Paula said that. I want to thank administration for putting together this back-to-school plan. I'm excited to get our kids back into school under whatever requirements they need to get in there with. I'm so sick of watching TikToks at my house. So I just, put them in a spacesuit. I don't care. Get them back into school. But again, thank you guys for putting together all the hard work. I want to thank the public who was here and had really good things to say. It was a really good meeting on this side and from that side, and I'm grateful for that, and I feel like we were able to participate productively. And that's it. I'm just happy that we can start putting one foot in front of the other a little bit faster. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Timmons, do you have board member comments?
Yes, I'm just going to I only have two things to say. One is about the middle school. I got 4 of them, my Fab 4, same age, is going into all 3 middle schools. So they can give me updates on what their school is like. And I'm going to compare notes, so just so you know that. My Fab 4 is all 11th. They all graduated out of the 5th grade, and they all in all 3 of the middle schools, okay? They don't have a problem with the mask, so that's a good thing. We had Summer Scholar, Powell Scholar graduation this past Friday at Amherst Street School, and it was fantastic. I sent Stacy Hines a bunch of pictures of the kids, and they were happy. They were happy. It was a good summer for them, so thank you very much. I did have 2 that was in Powell Scholar, because I got so many grandkids in the school system. But 2 of them was in Powell Scholar, and that's why I was there to watch the graduation. And I was totally impressed with everything that they learned this summer, and thank you very much for that. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Timmons. I just have a few quick things. I opened this meeting with a bunch of ground rules, and I sincerely appreciate everybody who came to participate and share their thoughts, and I think everybody tried their best to keep the meeting calm and civil, and that way we were able to hear everybody who wanted to speak. So I sincerely thank everybody for doing that. I wanted to thank the YMCA and the teachers and the administrators who spent their summer helping our kids get caught up, as they do many, many summers, but this summer was special, I think, to have so many people come back. So thank you to them, and giant kudos to all those kids. 1,400 kids spent their summers with us. And those children and those parents who decided to make that a priority, I'm just really blown away. So thank you for that. Just a couple of updates. The United Way, who has done so much for our families, has a school supplies pantry for teachers, and they'll be collecting donations Wednesdays through Sundays, starting on August 20th at the Pheasant Lane Mall. The Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter has a backpack program. They give out about 1,200 fully stocked backpacks, and they put school supplies based on the age of the student, whether they're elementary school or middle or high school. I volunteer with them every year for this, and when I was there Friday afternoon, they were short almost 900 backpacks for the 1,200 backpacks that they need. They have a lot of pencils, but not so much with the backpacks and some of the bigger items. So if anyone is able to spare a backpack or two, the Soup Kitchen is still taking donations for that program. And these are, they don't just collect them, they have families and students already identified who need these things in order to go back to school and have the things they need, like pencils and paper and crayons and glue sticks and stuff. Only two more. Nashua goes back to school. I think we've mentioned it several times on August 26th at the library. Please, please, please have your child attend if they would like to meet their principals, especially those kids who didn't attend school last year. Even if you have a 7th grader or a 2nd grader, it's a good idea to have them go meet their principal and see the pictures of the school and get their stuff. And then after that, people can run on over to Fairgrounds Middle School, because at 7 o'clock we're having our joint special school building committee meeting at Fairgrounds in the new gym, and you can see how beautiful the gym is. And then the last thing is the vaccine clinic on the 19th. It's not just COVID shots, so we're just going to put COVID to the side. It's all those other childhood vaccinations that kids might need. If anybody's family is like my family, our vaccine schedule is all messed up because of COVID. My kids we have summer babies, so they weren't able to get their annual physicals on time because of COVID, so now we're way off on everything. So if you're like me, please consider going to the vaccine clinic on the 19th with public health. And that's it. I have no other announcements. So if anybody's been watching this long, good for you.
Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
I'm beating Ms. Timmons here. We're looking at each other.
Ms. Johnson votes motions to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Timmons. We do need to roll call it because Ms. Brown is on the phone.
Okay, on the motion to adjourn, Mrs. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio?
Yes.
Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we are adjourned at 10:02 p.m.